The memes are getting too accurate. They
really are. They really are.
All the time.
Oh my god. Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette, here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so we finished watching the movie It, and we're talking the original one. It came out in 1990, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you haven't seen it, it's a group of kids. There's 7 of them. I think it's like 1960 or it's kind of that era. And they are like haunted by this evil clown that's like taunting them and killing children. And they're like, we're going to get this thing. Like, so they band together. And then we visit them again in another 30 years later. 30. Mm-hmm. And they're back at it. So that's the movie. There you go.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this wasn't actually a movie.
That's what I was just going to say.
It's a mini-series.
You're right. It's a mini-series.
Yeah.
If you look it up, it's labeled as a mini-series.
Yeah. Yes. It was a made-for-TV mini-series. I think it came out in 2 parts.
Yeah. Okay. Which is wild because I feel like I always imagined it as a movie. I mean, I rented, the DVD and there's no break. It's just like the full 3-hour thing. So like in my mind, I just assumed this has always been a movie. Mm-hmm. But this is probably our first straight to TV.
I think so.
Movie that we've done then, which is, it's wild that something this big was a straight to TV.
Like I wouldn't have known that.
No.
Right? Like I wouldn't have guessed.
Cuz like it's got some gore, it's got some really kind of
dark
rough
things.
Topics. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of surprising. But yeah, my husband remembers when it came out and he remembers it being on TV as the made for TV series, I guess.
Yeah.
And how it was a big deal.
Well, we watched it at home, apparently as it was meant to be watched, Because sometimes you watch a movie and it's like, I wish I could have seen this in theater, like how they probably intended it. But this one, that's how they intended it, right at home.
Yep.
Maybe broken up into multiple parts.
Right. I broke mine up into 2 parts. I stopped it. It's funny because I stopped it and then about an hour and a half in. Mm-hmm. And when I did, my husband was like, if you want to do it when it was broken up in the TV version, he's like, go like 5 more minutes and then you'll be at where it was supposed to be broken up.
The cutoff.
So then I went 5 more minutes. I got to where it was clearly supposed to be broken up and then continued watching it the next day.
Yeah, because it's like the premise of it is that we've got these 7 children that we then see as adults. But it's like, it's kind of hard to keep track of everyone and everything. Like I had a really hard time being like, oh wait, which one was he? And like their names are all very like typical boy names. And so like
Richie, Eddie, Bill, Ben.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I had a hard time being like, wait, he was what little boy? And so there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah. I did like when it started out, it was really close up on. Well, at first you don't know what it is. To me, I thought it looked like a Rorschach picture. Because it kind of looked like, what do you see? Do you see faces? Do you see like a butterfly? But then as it zooms out, you realize that was just the close-up version of close-up into the font of the words "it," or like Stephen King's "It" or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I thought was kind of fun because we've been talking about those lately.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So yeah, we'll be doing this one a little bit different because we're not going to do like a play-by-play because this would be a 7-hour long episode if we did that.
3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Because it's a long movie. So we're just going to go through it, favorite moments that stood out, and kind of the central plot and where we go with it.
Which one thing that is kind of interesting is they knew it was going to be made for TV, but the original pitch, like the original like person who was kind of like writing it into a screenplay and trying to get it made, they wanted it to be like a longer series. Like this would be like 8 to 10 hours total. like Game of Thrones style, you know, HBO, make it 1 hour long for every episode. Like, they also wanted a lot more gore. So it was originally pitched as like a much bigger thing that ended up getting kind of compressed.
Oh, interesting.
That's kind of interesting because like really there weren't many that did that. Like we now recognize shows that way because it's a popular format, but they would have been like one of the pioneers of doing that because it wasn't. And that's probably why they got shut down, right? Because like nobody was doing that. So
Yeah, because I was watching the documentary and like the guy, he was like, yeah, like we were ahead of for its time. Like there was this like, I wanted Game of Thrones, basically. You know, like I want this like that definitely would have been one of the first like that like prestige TV style.
If only they had a crystal ball.
Yeah. I think that could have been really cool because you do have like you have 7 main characters and you know, it is kind of easy to mix them up in the movie just because they do try to like cram so much in, but like they do all have their own separate story, and like we get more from some characters than others, but they are interesting characters.
They really are.
Totally. Like you really could have like deep dove into each one and had like a really solid story for each character.
Yeah. So not to say like, oh, a 3-hour movie is too short, but
a 3-hour movie is too short.
They could have made it longer easily.
It could have. It totally could have worked.
No,
like getting that like prestige TV style would have been really cool for this.
Yeah. I also really liked that throughout the movie. Yeah, there's horror, and then there's scenes that seem really kind of nostalgic, but I especially loved some of the clearly made for TV acting. Almost it was like acting in a soap opera or a telenovela where it's like this like over dramatic like just acting, and I so appreciated it.
My favorite was all the montages. There were a few really good ones.
Yeah.
The bicycle scene of the 2 characters as adults and then reminiscing of the child riding their bikes. That was my favorite part of the whole movie.
Going back to childhood.
I was like, oh, it's so cute. Well, it's interesting because we went to dinner with Laura's husband, Jaden, last night, and we were talking about it a little. And we, you know, were like, well, we have to save it for the pod, but we kind of wanted to hear like his take on it. And he was saying that it really does have that like nostalgic vibe of like the movie Stand By Me. Like it has that sort of like
childhood friendships.
And, Stephen King really knew that, you know. That is one thing that's so I feel like the miniseries was split into 2 sections, and then even the new movie that they made was split into 2, and it's very clearly like the children first and then we get to the adults. And the children's section, like that first part is so much stronger. Like especially when you consider that it's all like child actors, like that's gonna be hard to work with, right? Like 7 kids. I don't even know how they got full takes for all of the scenes they wanted. But like just the way that they talk about like just like their friendship and like being this little like loser group, and like all of them really do have their own trauma that you know bonded them, and like that part was so strong. Like that part I thought was really well done.
It really was. Yeah. So I know we're not going to talk like the whole movie, but we could kind of go through like short kind of rundown of how it happens, because we right off the bat get our first death.
Yes.
Strong start.
Lori Ann is her name. And it's you know, it's so classic now to just think of, you know, all the things that are creepy. This little girl, you know, riding her little tricycle, and then the first shot of our villain, Pennywise. And Tim Curry is the actor, and he just did such an amazing job. Like he was so creepy, and his voice and his facial expressions, like such a good job. And the person who did it in the most recent movie, Skarsgård, right?
Bill. Yeah.
Also did a great job, but like Tim Curry is just
he nailed it.
Perfection. So you just get like,
I have to say, I actually like the new It
more
clown more.
Really?
Yeah, like I like Bill Skarsgård's rendition of it more than the original. I know that's controversial. I know.
Okay,
I know.
yeah, why?
Because in general, I really didn't like the 2017 movie like at all. That's why I was like not feeling watching this one. But I liked this movie so much better. But I liked the creepiness of the new It. Like to me, it was a little too like childish and colorful and like cute. Like he was like cute in his cute little outfit. Like to me, he didn't feel as
giant monster teeth.
Yeah. When he has the monster teeth, yes. But like, I don't know.
For me, I disagree. I feel I can find no fault in Tim Curry's acting or portrayal of it. I thought it was the perfect level of would draw a kid in by almost seeming innocent, but then instantly there's something so off about him.
Yeah.
So
no, exactly.
I feel it's perfect.
He's able to draw kids in. Also, this was back when like being scared of clowns wasn't a thing.
That's true.
Like this was kind of one of the earliest.
Right. No,
other
that's
than
true.
like it was kind of like John Wayne Gacy and this started to make people like at least talk about being scared of clowns, but like he needed to be fun and colorful, and I think he did a really good job of like that like turn to evil. Like the new It is really cool looking, but to me it's like but like he's clearly scary. Like
well, right, that's very true.
Right.
Like the next one of the next scenes we get like with Georgie, it's like like he's like, oh, like I know you, like you're Georgie and I'm Pennywise and now we know each other, and it's like, oh yay, fun clown, give me a balloon.
No, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah. But so we're with this cute little girl, and of course it's like the scene where you can tell a storm is coming, and there's like linens on the laundry line outside, so it's got like the perfect feel to the scene. Yeah.
And then the mom comes out to, call Lorianne in for dinner. And of course, you just see the tricycle has fallen down and the wheels are just spinning.
Yes.
So ominous.
I do wish we would have gotten like a little bit more of the deaths. I think that was partially because it was a TV movie or series. They had to, they every single death. I don't really think there's any that we see. Pretty much every death we see Pennywise approaching or something, and then it's just cut. So it's like, we
just have to fill in
the death happened, or later we learned that they did die, but they cut away from every single death in the movie. And I wish we would have gotten like just like a tiny bit more, like like 5 more seconds.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Make it more clear.
Yeah. But then, and it's not clear what time period that Lorianne's death happens.
No.
But then it cuts to, I really did like the character of Mike as an adult. I loved how he was narrating. It was almost like, like those old kind of like Gumshoe Detective, like black and white shows where like the guy's talking about like, and then she walked in and blah, 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 blah. And just like,
that's exactly the vibe I got.
Yeah.
No, I loved
it. He's just like talking about, I don't know. I think he finds a picture of Georgie, and then it like kind of like makes him remember that this thing that just happened with Lorianne happened 30 years ago, where all these other kids died.
It's like, oh, it's happening again. And like, no, like that very first scene, like I thought he was a detective. It's like, oh yeah, he's the librarian.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But he's kind of taken the role of being the lead of this group as adults on. Like he's the one that gets everyone back together and
getting the gang back together.
Kind of orchestrates it.
So then I love that it like all of a sudden cuts to Hempstead Heath, where we see the character of Bill, and I'm forgetting the guy's name who played him, but his ponytail, his parted hair ponytail.
Every time he turned around, I was like, oh,
was so off-putting.
I just feel like the way his hair sat, I kept forgetting about the ponytail. Like it looked like it wasn't there. And then he would turn around. It's like, oh, what's that on his back?
It was just like a floating pony. Yeah, no.
It was like so bad. Just because like he kind of had like not a full receding hairline, but just like his hairline, it just seemed like a normal haircut.
It looks so, and it sits in a way where it's like, oh, that's just his hair. Like, no, the ponytail surprised me every time he turned around.
Every time. Every single time. So, okay, so then Mike, the narrator, calls Bill.
Yes.
And once he calls Bill, then all of a sudden we get this flashback to Bill and Georgie's story.
Yes.
Right? That's
so
when we
good.
see the story.
Yeah. And that's kind of how the rest of the movie plays out, like with all the characters. Like we meet a character and then we see their childhood experience. And it kind of goes back and forth through all of the characters.
Yeah.
But this first one, the first one's important because it's Georgie, which will play a big role in the rest of the movie.
And it's what people think of. It's what people think of when they think of it, is they think of the clown and they think of the little kid in the rain jacket. Although I will say, and I don't know if this is because of how the new movie does it or if it was because of, marketing of Halloween costumes. In my mind, I always picture Georgie, who is the cutest little boy actor ever. But I picture him in his little rain jacket with his newspaper boat. And I always picture a red balloon.
So did I. Is it not?
No. In most of the movie, the balloons,
yellow.
There's several times there's multiple colors, but all the ones that like pop with blood or like the iconic ones in the scenes, they're yellow.
Yeah. No, it kept surprising me too. I think because for the new movie, it was always red, I'm pretty sure. Like they definitely marketed a lot more with red.
I just pulled up the poster for the new movie, and it is the little boy in the raincoat with the red balloon.
Yeah, okay, in the new movie, it was red. But this one, I was like, wait, what?
I was like, wait, that's supposed to be a red balloon. What's happening?
He kept getting little yellow balloons.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. So we see kid Georgie and Bill, and Bill has a very pronounced stutter.
Yeah,
and he's like not feeling well. And it's raining. And so they just have such a sweet relationship. And so Georgie's like, I want to go play. And so they, Bill's not going to go out with him, but he helps show him how to put like glue or epoxy or something on the newspaper boat so he can go play in the rain.
And it's such as like, again, it's the scene everyone thinks of, right? It's like, he's so cute, his little rain jacket, he puts a little boat in, and then it's like, it's raining. So the gutter is just, flowing the water. He's chasing the little boat, and then it falls into the sewer crate. And it's like, oh no. Then he goes and he takes a look, and he meets Pennywise.
Yep. Pennywise is there. And he's saying, come on, Georgie, like, come get your boat. And he says the iconic line that they say so many times in this movie, but I have to say it never got old. I always appreciated it and just thought it was such a cool, creepy ass line. Like, he's like, come down, you'll float. We all float down here and things like that. Like, he just got such a high out of like saying everything's floating down there, which is just so creepy when you think about it, because it's just like dead bodies floating.
Right.
Yeah. And then you just see Georgie like reach his arm in, because he's like, okay, I think he's trying to get his boat back.
Yes.
And then cut.
Well, not before you see the clown that's just a normal clown, but it's creepy, but normal clown. He then opens his mouth, and in his mouth like grows 10 times in size, and all of a sudden has these like fang teeth everywhere. It's so gross.
Yes. Then we get a little cut. Now, there was a scene here that they had to cut. Again, I think just because it was made for TV, they had to remove so much of like the gore. But I guess here there was going to be a scene where a police officer goes to like knock on the door of Georgie's family, and he's like carrying Georgie's body with the arm ripped off. So it's like the blood pouring down because it's still raining outside. Yeah. And so they decided to cut that scene.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
That would have been good.
I think it would have looked really cool.
I think at some point they allude to like the kid's arms being ripped off and things like that, right?
I think it's later his friend is like explaining it to one of the other kids, like, oh, his brother's arm got ripped off and blah, blah. He's like explaining it to him. But that scene is just iconic. I don't know what it is about it, but that's the scene everyone thinks of.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. And then you know, Bill, who's still a kid, something happens where he goes through a photo album in Georgie's room.
Oh,
and as he's looking through the pictures, and this is important because it then happens to everybody later. As he's looking through, he sees a picture of Georgie, but then the picture winks at him. So it's not just a still picture, like the picture comes to life on the page and winks at him, but then the book fills with blood, and there's all this blood going everywhere, and Bill's screaming, and his parents come in, and they're covered in blood because they're touching him in the book, and they don't see anything.
Yeah. That one honestly took me a second to realize that they weren't saying it. Mm-hmm. Like, it took me a minute to be like, wait, like, where, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess we haven't talked about, like, I've seen this version before. Had either of you two seen this one before?
I hadn't, no. I've seen the new one. And actually, here's the thing. I don't remember much about the new one, but I remember liking it. Like, I remember having a good time. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of, like, I don't remember much of what happened.
Yeah.
So I have not seen the original. I had only seen the new one. And I was not a fan. So for me, I was like, I'm not even going to bother with the old one because, like, I really didn't like.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch both parts of the new one? Or
no,
just the first one?
Just the first.
Oh, interesting. The first one was
so
better.
Maybe I need to, like, revisit.
The first one was better.
But I will say, and, you know, obviously I'll give my, like, rating later. I like the old one, the 90s one, more than the other one. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think it might depend, too, on which one you've seen first. Well, maybe not Brianna,
honestly,
in your case.
Yeah.
Because I had seen the 90s one first, and then saw the 2017. And I remember I didn't hate the 2017 one, but I didn't like it. I didn't think it was as good. I thought it was too... I was so bored through a lot of that movie. And it's funny because I feel like the 90s one should seem more drawn out and dated just because of the times. But I was more invested in the 90s one the whole time than the 2017 one.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so back to what's happening in the movie.
So we got Bill's flashbacks.
We get Bill's flashback, and then it turns out he's like, oh, I remember. He's like, how could I have forgotten? Yeah. He starts as an adult to start stuttering again, which we had seen him already, and he wasn't stuttering anymore like he did as a kid. Mm-hmm. And then, like, he had known that his brother was dead, but he didn't remember that his brother was murdered. Like, it all just got
like he forgot all of it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we learn all the others experienced that, except for Mike, who remained in Derry. Yeah. So everyone else had moved away, but Mike had stayed there. And so, like, his memory was intact the whole time, but everyone else's wasn't.
Yeah.
So then we meet all the rest of the characters. So how we meet them is by them finding out or being contacted by Mike, and then they get their flashback to when they were living in Derry. So I don't know, we probably don't want to, like, talk about all of them, but does anyone have, like, some standout flashbacks? Or
I mean, I feel like we have to talk about Bev just because I think she has all of the creepiest scenes.
She's got some good one.
Like, I loved hers.
Yeah, like, she really is. I mean, the story is very much so about, you know, trauma and things you can experience as a child and follow you into adult. But, like, we really get to see her struggle, you know?
Yes.
So I feel like we have to talk about Bev.
So we meet her when she is she's at work with her piece of shit boyfriend.
Yep.
And he's just bossing her around and just being a real dick.
And it's like her company. Like, she's the designer, but he's the one that's, like, taking all the power and control, like an asshole.
Yeah. And then we cut to like, I think they're like back home, and then he's mad about what she did at work. And so like you can just tell this is an awful relationship when she gets the phone call.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, getting the gang back together. And she's like, okay, I have to go. Because they all kind of have that reaction of like, it comes back to them.
It triggers
and
something.
And then it is kind of that like, they immediately have to react. And it's like, okay, I'm packing my bags and going. And he just like freaks out. Her boyfriend just like gets so angry. And I think he slaps her, right?
He does,
and she's like trying to leave. And it's just like, oh, you know, you could just tell the situation she's in.
It's funny because like I don't take as many notes as I think you two do because like, you know, my role's more behind the scenes. So I only take a few, but I only took 2 notes, and one of them was Bev's boyfriend is actually the villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was one of the only notes that I took because he is.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
But we learn that like, because then we see her in her childhood that her dad was a physically abusive as well. So like she's got a lot going on there.
I thought it was so interesting because in her situation, because she had forgotten the abuse that had happened with her dad, she's in this relationship with this piece of shit boyfriend. And but then once she remembers, oh, this happened to me as a kid, this type of a relationship, she then is like, well, wait a second, that already happened to me. That can't not happen again. And so as soon as she remembers her childhood, she stands up to the boyfriend and is like, you ever touch me again and I will kill you.
Yeah. She's like throwing stuff at him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So she fights back.
She absolutely does.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she gets, I guess, hold on. I'm trying to remember like the order of operations for her story, because we get the flashback with her dad. Then she also has that scene in the bathroom.
We do. Yeah, we see that. So she, I think she just like goes to the bathroom because maybe, I think what happens is she got a love letter.
Yes.
And the dad found the love letter. And then
the little poem.
Or the poem. And so then he, I think, was like coming for her. And so she like ran away, but then once she came home, she just like, she went to the bathroom because I think she's kind of like trying to avoid dad or something. And so then she goes into the bathroom and she hears voices in the sink.
And then out of the sink, you see like a little balloon. This one was red, I'm pretty sure.
This one was
right. And it's just a balloon. It just starts like inflating out from under the sink, and it pops, and it is just blood everywhere. Like the blood spatters everywhere, and then more blood starts like coming up
gurgling
from the sink. Yeah, gurgling out. And then she starts hearing like whispers. And it's all the kids. Like you hear all these kids like whispering.
And so one of the things that I noted they said, you'll die if you try to fight us.
Because so she kind of has that same experience of like she screams and her dad does come in and try to help, but like he's obviously not seeing it. And it's while he's trying to be like, what are you talking about? Like what's going on? He's like looking into the drain. That's when they're like, if you say something, you'll die.
That scene is so good.
They do a really good job of like showing us what they're seeing that nobody else is seeing. So they do a really good job of showing that. Because like that can be hard to like capture, but they do it well.
And then, I mean, if we're going to focus on one person, I feel like we should just then talk about when she as an adult comes back. Because that's also one of my favorite scenes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because she comes back and she goes back to like her house, right?
Yeah.
And she goes up to the doorbell and she sees her last name to ring because she's like,
her name is Beverly Marsh.
Yes. Yeah. So she sees Marsh and she rings the doorbell because she's like, time to talk to dad, time to, come home. And she rings the doorbell and this like old woman opens the door and she looks back and then we see that the name is actually slightly different. Like it was something that like you're like maybe close, she read it wrong. Right. It was close enough.
Is it Kirsch or something?
Yeah. And so she goes inside and it's this like old woman. She's trying to explain like, oh, like this is where I grew up. Like she's kind of like showing her around the house. She's like, oh, let's let me make you some tea. And so she's sitting around, and then when she gets the tea, she looks down, and it's just blood. And they did a good job with the blood. I feel like I believed it was blood.
I did too.
With this one.
The consistency was perfect.
Yeah, not all movies get that right. And this one, I feel like they did a good job. It was thick. It was like brownish red. It looked like blood.
Yeah.
Notices the tea, drops the teacup. So now you just see the blood spilling everywhere. And then the old woman starts she's like a decomposed version.
Because at first it's her teeth and then her face, and it's just a slow.
But it's like a decomposed version of her dad.
Right. Yeah. She turns from the woman to the dad.
Yeah, into her dad, and then starts talking in her dad's voice to her. This was, I think, one of my favorite scenes. So it's
it's so good.
And she's panics, screams, runs out of the house and turns back and realizes the entire thing had actually been boarded up.
Yeah.
And then we see, I think, Pennywise come out clearly. It's haha, that was me. Which just 10 out of 10. I thought that was such a cool scene.
It was so good. It was so good.
Because honestly, they were all good, but hers was every element of what was happening was done so well. Yeah. Big fan.
Because they really did, they did each kid, they showed their scene of being kind of haunted by it as a kid, and then once they return to come back. And we'll talk about why they return, kind of once we go through some people. But I think there's 7 of them, but I think there's really 3 main ones. So there's Beverly Marsh, there's Ben, and then there's Bill.
Yeah.
And Bill is George's brother. And Mike is the narrator, so he's also a main guy, kind of.
Right. But the other stories are kind of the focus.
Right. And there's other ones, there's the kind of nerdy guys and the guy who's very practical, but I feel like we should also talk a little bit about Ben.
Yeah, was Ben John Ritter? Was that
Ben was John Ritter.
Okay.
As the adult, John Ritter played Ben.
I love John Ritter. Back in my teenage days, that was what I did was I stayed up and watched Three's Company. Because it was on, because back when I was a kid, you could only watch what was on TV at the time. That was how TV worked. And for me, at 1 a.m., it used to be Three's Company. So, yeah.
So let's talk about Bill's little story. So,
or Ben's, right?
Ben's, yes.
Or Ben's. Sorry,
yes.
Ben.
Right, I know.
They should have made different names.
I know, slightly different names.
All such average male names. They really are.
It works for storytelling, right? Of this is a shared experience, which is why they have generic names, but it makes this really hard.
But then also, okay, because the main characters I would say are Bill, Ben, and Bev.
Yes.
And they've got a little love triangle going on.
A little bit.
So when we first meet Ben, John Ritter, as an adult, he's very successful and he's making out with this woman and how they're drunk and he's you'll never believe this. And, people don't talk like this anymore, but this was 1990 and he was I was a fat kid. I was so fat as a kid. And he wasn't the guys.
I just have to say, as someone that grew up as a millennial, that was me. I was the fat friend. And I look at photos and I was
you're not
a couple inches bigger. That's it.
No, our opinion of fat. Yeah.
No, was so fucking toxic.
Right.
But yeah, with Ben, he's maybe just got a tiny bit more.
Just a little baby weight.
Because they're all that age. They're all that kind of
children.
Right.
Pubescent aged kids. And so, but he always wore a big sweatshirt. To make him look like the fat kid.
Yeah.
So then when he gets the call, he gets his flashback. And so we see the, not super thin, but also not fat kid. And he's the new kid in town. And so he he first meets, like, people are mean to him. There's bullies.
Yes, there's like the gang of bullies.
Yeah, the
gang
little
of
trio of
and they're like straight out of Greece. Like the way that they look with their hair, like in their jackets. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he meets some not so nice people, but then also he does have a really sweet interaction with Beverly Marsh.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got kind of a crush on her, and he writes her this poem that we had kind of referred to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not remembering all of it. Do either of you remember?
Well,
I remember certain phrases.
It's like a real poem, right? Like he was just quoting.
Is it
right?
Really?
Oh, I didn't think so.
Oh no, I think it's like a real. I could be wrong, but I really think
while
that's
you
like
look that up, I'm going to say what I remember of it. It's something like, "Your hair is winter fire, January embers. My heart is there too," or something like that. My heart lives there too. My heart.
Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe I thought it was like a real poem. Maybe it's
my
just
heart
his little
burns
poem.
there too.
Yeah, it's "Your hair is winter fire, January embers. My heart burns there too."
You know, I remembered most of it. Actually.
That was pretty good. Yeah. Honestly, pretty solid for a 12-year-old.
I mean,
yeah, well done.
Bravo.
Well done. Yeah.
And so we learn that his dad had died. Mm-hmm. So that's why he and his mom like moved to town to like live with their aunt or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so as he's running away from the bullies, he comes to this, what would you call it? Like kind of like a swamp or marsh at the base near where there's like a sewer entrance or a sewer plant.
Yeah. It's like a marsh, like a little swampy marsh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Beverly Marsh.
And, an embankment kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You don't get to use that word enough, you know?
No.
Embankment.
But he sees his dad.
Right.
He sees
that was kind of creepy. Yeah.
And it's creepy.
Creepy.
Yeah.
I really liked this. There's several of the hauntings where it impersonates somebody else and starts talking to the people. And then the way that they kind of like subtly, slowly mix its voice and have it overtake the other person he's impersonating's voice is really cool effect.
Yeah.
Because it's so unsettling to have the two things mix, you know, and turn into it. Yeah.
Because again, it turns into real fears, right? Yes. Like that's what's so cool about, it and Pennywise as the monster. It's like, oh, I'll just turn into your worst fear. And then surprise, it's not even that. It's a monster.
Yes.
Yes. No, but yeah, I really liked the scene with Ben because he sees his dad standing out in like the marshlands, and it's slowly transitioning more and more to it. So then all of a sudden he's holding like a big group of balloons. So it's just like his dad looks very serious, but he's holding the balloons, and then he's even talking about like, oh, like I live here now, and it's like in like the sewer entrance, that we know they'll be going into later.
Yeah.
And then just morphs into Pennywise.
Yep. I live here now and we float down here and we all float and all those things they say.
Because it is so unsettling having such a dark presence present itself as either someone you love or this really cute clown, like this friendly clown. Like, and then it's like, nope, just kidding. I am your worst fucking nightmare.
Yeah. No, I feel like, Laura, like you're right. It's like they keep saying it. They're like, oh, like everyone floats. You'll float too. And like, I don't get sick of it. It's somehow kept working.
Yeah. Love it. I love it so much. And then I'm trying to think of Ben's hallucination or vision once he comes back as an adult.
Oh, I do remember he goes back down into the little stream.
Well, because he has a moment where there's another boy that reminds him of him. So he's having like a flashback of him. And then there's an actual little boy being bullied, and he kind of goes to his, need and
so that was like one of them. And then there was the other scene with who he thinks is Bev.
Oh, so that's probably it. That's it. That's it, right? I would think.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're all in the house. They're kind of like regrouped at this point. This is maybe even after like the dinner. And he's in the room and in walks Bev. And she recites part of the poem.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I knew it was you. And then they start like making out. And they're making out like in front of a mirror. So you see him like open his eyes and he looks and it's the top of Bev, but the bottom is Pennywise. So you just see like the giant yellow pants.
Yeah, it's like it reminded me of The Shining, you know, when he's in the bathroom and he looks in the mirror. It was the same kind of.
Yep.
And then,
because one of the other things I wrote down is like once they do right before this, they all meet up at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But I just loved how they all just really kissed each other a lot while they like hugged and met each other. Like Bev went through all of them and there was just a lot of mouth kissing.
It's like, sir, you have a wife.
Yeah, I was like, that's not how I greet long lost friends, but maybe it should be.
Yeah, so Bill has a wife who actually plays a fairly sizable role in the movie.
Like she comes back.
Lots of mouth kissing.
When he reunites with Bev, that's a long mouth kiss
and there was another one before, like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, not how I greet friends, but I don't know. I think in Miami, that's how they do it.
So. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So to summarize, unless there's other ones that you guys want to talk about,
those are the
each
main ones.
kid has an interaction with it where it's something pretty scary to them when they're kids.
I do have to talk about one, not because I liked it, but because I disliked it.
Okay.
Seth Green's moment with Pennywise. I forget his character's name.
Eddie? Was he Eddie?
Wait, was that Seth Green?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richie.
He reminded me of Seth Green, but I didn't think that was really Seth.
Yeah.
Totally. Huh. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Seth Green is in this. And then his like moment with Pennywise is that he, I don't know, gets in like all these accidents with the bullies and like spills food on them and then spills food on a teacher. It's like a whole thing. And it's like, oh, you have to clean it up. Go get the cleaning supplies. And so he goes down into the school's like boiler room.
Right.
Like it kind of looked like straight out of like Nightmare on Elm Street. It kind of reminded me of that, where it's like, why are you in the school's boiler room? And we see, a creature. And the creature is the werewolf from the movie that they had been seeing earlier. So it's like, oh, his greatest fear is, I guess, the monster in the movie that they just watched. But it wasn't scary. Like, it was it was like a teenage werewolf kind of, like, I get it. It was supposed to be from the movie.
Yeah.
But compared to
the
like
others,
Bev's and Ben's, it was like,
it's not
the same. On the same level.
And so that was Richie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually. Okay. So because because then Eddie is the little kid.
Yes. Yeah. Eddie's like the I think it was in the documentary, the actor who played him, it was like, they were all supposed to be kind of like the like losers, he's like the runt. He was like, I feel like he was the runt of the runt. He was like the smallest one. In real life, he was younger than the rest of them.
I figured.
Which is why he was like a little bit smaller. But so we do have him too.
Because he's significantly like it's just how it developed. Yeah. Like
Well, and he's just like he has asthma. So he has like carries like an inhaler and he has little glasses. Like it's honestly adorable.
I do feel like his haunting scene as a kid was pretty cool.
Yes.
Wait, remind me what
his was where so his mom was like Eddie's mom is super overprotective of him and shelters him. And so like, I think she didn't want him to shower with the other boys in gym class because like, I'm thinking she like just thought they'd make fun of him or something. But his gym teacher was like, hey, you're in gym and you're sweating, so you have to shower. So go back and shower. So he goes back into the communal showers alone.
Yeah, flashback to Carrie.
I was just going to say I was having Carrie flashbacks.
Yeah.
So he's in the shower and I do like where, he's just this like tiny little thing showering and then the shower heads start to come off of the wall and like expand, and then they're just kind of moving around like fire hoses and spraying at them. And then it comes out of the drain, which was pretty creepy.
Opens
it
drain.
up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that, that effect I actually thought worked pretty well. Like, not all the effects are good, and I think they maybe get even worse the later in the movie we get. But that one I actually thought it looked cool. The way he like pushed open the shower floor.
Yeah, totally.
Pop out.
So there's this group of losers, and there's 6 of them to start.
7.
And
there's 7 to start.
Well, there's 6 to start.
Oh, and then the 7th joins.
Mike joins late.
Oh,
Mike joins late. Right. So there's 6 of them, and they're all kind of like the losers together. And then they're starting to form these bonds from like being losers, and also they're all kind of having these visions. And there's all this, child murders are happening around Derry. And then we see there's an interaction with Mike, who happens to be black, in this cast filled of everyone else is white. And we see this interaction with him and the bullies. And this is where I wrote down, big surprise, the bullies are racist.
Right.
Yeah.
Surprise.
So they say some pretty awful things, and they are after him. They're bullies to everybody, but it's just very uncomfortable.
They're raging racists towards him.
Very
right.
Yeah. So he's
go ahead. Go ahead, and then I'll do a fun fact.
I was just gonna say, so he's like running away from them, and they're chasing him, and he happens to run into the rest of the group of the 6. Right. And then they're like, absolutely not. These bullies are assholes. And so they all gang up to help protect Mike and themselves, and they all throw rocks at the bullies.
Because, they've all had bullshit with the bullies, so they're ready to form an alliance. But then they're like, you know what, you're welcome to the Losers Club. Like, if you want to be in our group, like, be in our group. And then it's actually like really sweet, because adult Mike talks about like, that was the best day of my life, because they like took this picture of the group of them, and then they became, from that point on, the rest of the summer, which was an awful summer because they're being haunted, but they also all remember it as being like the best summer ever because they were together, which is pretty sweet, actually.
It is. Yeah, it does turn kind of sweet. Again, the kids part of it is, it's so cute. Like it works.
Right.
It works. Yeah. I was going to say one of the fun facts is in the documentary that I had, the actor who plays the main bully, the main greased hair.
Yes.
Bully. Yeah. So he was Canadian. They actually filmed in Canada. And he kept saying, he's like, like after all of those scenes, like he just kept going back up to the actor to be like, I don't believe any of those things. I'm so sorry I have to say it. Like, and I guess like he even like, he was talking to the director. He's like, I feel really uncomfortable saying these things. Like he like felt so guilty with what he had to say that like he would apologize after every scene just to be like, I just want to make it clear. Like, I don't think this. And I'm uncomfortable saying it.
That's so sweet, because that would be so hard.
And like he said that like everyone was like, like you're acting, like we're all acting.
Well, no,
like why are you being weird about this? And he was like, no, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm apologizing.
He was a young actor too, so it might be a little bit harder to separate it out, Yeah.
Right. Well, and then
I get it.
And then it was the same with the actor who plays Bev's dad. Because it was like, like he did a great job. He was scary.
Yeah. Oh, I hated him.
So it was the same where like after the scene would end, and they said like the actor that played Bev, like she was great. Like she, even though they were all young, it was like they understood like this is acting. This actor does not actually feel this way towards you. Like they were able to distinguish that, but it was the same where like after every scene, he would just go up to her and be like, I don't think any of that. I'm so sorry that I had to yell at you.
No, that's sweet.
That's pretty cute.
When they are in the documentary, like it does seem like they all honestly had such a good time. And then even with all the harder, meaner things that a lot of them had to like say or do, was like even after they'd be like, I'm so sorry, I don't think any of this.
No,
like,
I love that,
because like, to reassure.
You never know like the behind the scenes feelings and vibes of a movie set, so I like that,
especially for a kid where it's like you're acting, but also like that probably helps just to have them be like, look, I just so you really know, that's not me.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they all bond. They all learn they've had visions.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, Mike is kind of like a history buff, or he likes books and nerds. So he had presented to his class, like some of these like really just the sordid past of Derry, and how,
the dark,
there's been these like events throughout Derry's history where like there's been mass amounts of death.
Like 250, I think is what he says, the one. Yeah. Like nobody would want to investigate that further.
Right.
Like, can you imagine?
And like, one thing that I think the book goes a lot more into, that again, like they just didn't have time. Like it was, they only had 3 hours. I think the book goes more into the history of it, but I feel like that did give us a good window into like, there's something up with Derry. Like this isn't even just them. And then we would get like subtle things about the other adults, in quotes, kind of like knowing that maybe something's going on, but like maybe not wanting to do anything about it. So like you can tell that there's something wrong with Derry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get little bits of that.
It's just so funny because like, as he was explaining it, like I know that I am a horror buff and that has maybe desensitized me to the world slightly. But I'm always like, whenever I hear of a serial killer that's like, he had 6 victims, I'm like, that's it? That doesn't even count.
It's a big deal.
Six?
6 people? Like, that's nothing. So,
small time there.
Like 250, I'm like, oh no, that's respectable. That's a respectable serial killer.
That's worth talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of that, I feel like now we can kind of jump to what would be the final fight scene for the kids. Because that's kind of the wrap up of part 1. And this is where we get the next batch of deaths. Because so far we've had the little girl in the tricycle and Georgie.
Yep.
But we're about to get a couple more before what would have been the first part.
Yes.
So we go ahead.
Well, and I was just going to say, the reason I brought up that story too is because he used a book to tell that. And I think this is what really allows them all to like commit to their plan, is they're looking through Mike's book and they all see the picture come to life.
Oh yeah, I forgot they did that again. Scene. Yes, that was such a cool scene.
So they all see it in the picture, like in the picture book, and he comes to life. And that's when they're all like, oh my gosh, this is a monster. We have to kill it.
We got to kill this clown.
So they've decided that they're going to like, they just, they know that like Silver's going to kill it. And so what was
one of their kids'
earrings?
Mom's earrings. They were like the most 80s earrings I've ever seen.
Huge,
they were just like
silver earrings.
They were like silver rocks.
No, it did look like it was like, did you just get like raw silver? That's processed.
Yes.
So it's like all of a sudden it's like vampire. Is it werewolves? Vampires or werewolves?
I think it's like silver bullet, right? Werewolf, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
But yeah, so they know Silver's going to kill it, so they come up with this plan.
I know, and I loved this scene where they're like all practicing to see who's going to be the one to be the slingshotter, because that's how they're going to kill it, is with a slingshot. And they're all testing it, and all of the boys suck. Like I think one of them got like 1 because they had like 10 in a row.
Yeah.
And then Bev goes and just gets every single
crushes it.
And I love that the one kid was like, it's like she was meant to be the one. Like, so
good. It's so good.
Yeah.
I guess in real life when they were filming, the actor that played Bev, like she does kind of like struggle. Like one of the first times that she shot it, I think she ended up accidentally shooting it like directly at the camera.
Nice.
Oh no.
It kind of like spun around like in like the lens, and she was saying that like all the boys were like, see, she sucks. Let me do it. Like, I volunteer. She won't be able to handle it.
That's cute.
I love it.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're like they've decided Bev's going to be the one to shoot it, and they're all going to the sewer. But I love the scene like right before they go into the sewer, they're all kind of like freaking out. Like, can we do this? And especially Eddie, I think, is really scared. And Eddie, we learn, and I forget if this is before or after, his mom is so overprotective that he uses an inhaler, but it's like kind of fake. Like he doesn't actually have asthma. But I love how all the kids to get up their courage. It's like us with shots when we're gonna go do something at a party. They all take a hit on the inhaler.
Just a hit of the inhaler for courage.
I love it.
I liked that part a lot.
Kid logic,
camaraderie.
Sure,
yeah,
that's what we need.
So.
So yeah, they go into the sewer factory. I don't know what it's that
it's
building.
Like the sewers,
like the processing plant of the sewer. Yeah.
And then the loser club, the group of 7, make their plan to go in, but then separately, our little group of bullies have decided to kill them.
It's time.
Okay, sure, logical.
Because that's like flashing a knife at them, like they're just going to stab them to death. I'm like, oh,
I think they really were going to kill them.
Like that's a little different than bullying. Like, maybe bullying isn't the right word anymore.
Yeah, I was like, it's not like, oh, let's go scare them. It was like, no, like let's
kill them.
Let's go commit murder.
These kids, I'm telling you, they were dealing with stuff far beyond their years.
Yeah, it was different back then.
Although then they did randomly throw in stuff that's like kid stuff, because as they head into the sewer, what was with the random koosh ball? Do you guys know what a koosh ball is?
Why was that there? Like that didn't.
Wait, Yvette, you don't know what a koosh ball is?
No.
You're so young. Google it.
Okay. Why don't you just explain it to me? And
it's what now like people would consider like kind of almost like it's almost like a stress ball or something. It's like a squishy ball that has all these like silicone spikes coming off of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But they were really big in like 80s and 90s, koosh balls. But they see a koosh ball in the sewer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it's like that.
Okay.
So but that was weird to me. Like, I don't know if that was supposed to represent a clown or.
Well, wait, because was it the bullies that found it?
I thought it was the kids that found it.
Okay, because I was almost wondering if it was like to show the bullies that the kids were there. I don't know. It was stupid. It was pointless.
I don't know. It was weird.
I completely forgot that part.
Well, that's fine. It didn't matter.
It stood out to me. Like, they made a big deal of showing the koosh ball.
Right. Oh, interesting.
Like, I don't
completely miss that.
And then
I don't even know if those were things
sewer,
in the 60s.
What's that?
Like, were those even a thing in the 60s?
Yeah, because that would be...
We are spending too much time talking about the koosh
What is the history of the koosh ball?
Welcome to our podcast, Koosh Balls.
Do you remember when they would like have the animals in them, Laura? Like when they became like they had the little
sort of.
Yeah, they like had Matthew fucking loved them. So
that was
ask Matthew about koosh balls and he'll know.
That was a little bit for younger people. So that was a little bit past my
younger.
Time.
So
oh wait, you guys, we have just discovered a critical error in the made-for-TV miniseries It.
They weren't invented.
Koosh ball was patented in 1987. It would not have been there when the kids were there.
No koosh balls.
We need to like have a full-fledged investigation and spend 45 more minutes talking about this.
Absolutely.
Calling the director. Yes. Tommy Lee Wallace, excuse me.
You fool.
That's a good way to start an email, I find.
You fools.
You fool. We will keep you updated, sippers, on how that email is going.
Yes.
Anyways.
Anyway, all the kids, bullies and losers alike, have made it into the sewer.
Mm-hmm. And the lucky 7 or the losers, they stay together for the most part, but the murdering kids break up. I don't want to call them bullies anymore because it's far beyond that.
The murderers.
Because the murderers, yeah.
And so one goes alone to kind of chase them, and then he sees what they then call the dead lights. Instead of headlights, it's like dead lights.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other two, so I think he's just dead. And then the other two,
we see the lights coming, and then I think he's like standing on maybe like a sewer crate.
And
so
he gets like sucked in, right? Isn't that the one?
That's the next one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, to
so
the pipe.
First one, we kind of get that in the cutaway. So I think we assume he died. And then the next one, I think the two bullies are together plus one of the
plus Stan.
So
they had poured, and we haven't talked much about Stan. He has a sad story, but they pulled Stan aside and they were like about to kill him.
Right.
Yes, because again, they've decided to commit murder.
Just some casual murder. You know.
And we see, the deadlights come back. So there's like a big, kind of like an air vent pipe size, a vent. And we see the light like come through, and it's like piercing through the holes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to forget, how does he grab the bully? How does the bully end up in it?
I feel like
it sucked him in.
It just
sucked in from the butt first. Like
I just wrote, it comes through the pipe and sucks one up. No,
it's like, and just grabs him, and then we see him like fold in half, but like it like fully folded, like head on toes,
like just crushing.
Which I guess the kid, like the actor who played the role, he like really wanted to do it. He's like, I'll do my own stunts. And they were like, yeah, that's physically impossible.
Yeah, that's not
was he just like,
that's not gonna work.
It's like a toe touch. You can get pretty, pretty flexible.
I think it was pretty small. Like, I don't think like a normal human, even like a really flexible
child
average
could do it, right?
So I think they had to use a dummy. But I appreciate his bravery. He's like, I just wanted to do my own stunts.
Yeah. And then we see, because the main bully murderer his name is Henry. And he witnesses his friend, I believe his friend's name was Belch, and he burped often. So it was very creative.
Hey, it's memorable. Okay.
It is memorable.
We remember
I don't remember the other kid's name, because who cares?
Yeah.
But after he sees Belch get sucked up into the deadlights, his hair, because it goes again from that, like, it was very kind of grease, it was like very dark hair, and it turns completely white, which we've now seen in so many movies, you guys. It's like,
just so scared your hair goes white,
turns in their hair white.
Yeah.
So we see that, but then we go to the rest of the loser group, and I must say, I love the cool room they end up in. The creepy sewer room, where it's like tall and open, and there's it's almost like kind of like a star pattern of all of these lines of water that meet kind of in the center of the room. It's very cool.
Yeah. No, that was a cool like set design. Like whoever came up with that, it looked really cool. So now they're all reunited, and then like it starts to get really foggy. Yeah. Right? So you see like the fog roll in, and very creepy.
Very creepy. And they've realized at this point, and I think Stan has rejoined them, and they've realized at this point that if they don't get scared, if they know that it's not real, they can resist it. So they all join hands. And they like all try to just stay together and not acknowledge that it's, or not think that it's real.
Yeah. So like each one of them starts seeing their own little fears, like talking to them and trying to convince them. And then, I think at this point, Pennywise shows up as Pennywise and takes one of them. And and I think he says like, you taste better when you're scared. He's like, be scared.
Yeah.
This is scary.
Well, and he introduces himself, and I loved this line that he said. He says, I am the eater of worlds and children. Like, come on.
Nice.
That's an amazing line.
That is good.
Yeah. So then they decide to fight it.
And it's pretty quick. Like,
honestly, like, all things considered, it's pretty quick fight, if you can even call it that.
Yeah. Because like I think maybe he like comes to charge at one of them or something. And I think it's little Eddie who like gets his inhaler and like sprays it at him and is like, this is battery acid.
Yes.
And he's like, no.
Yeah, and his like face starts to like melt.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think. So he like starts to melt. So he's injured. Oh, so then he like leaps into the drain.
Yeah.
And this effect was not great.
No.
There could have been like a tiny bit better. But anyway, he leaps into the drain and the kids try to grab him to pull him back out because, they're realizing he's trying to like escape, but they're not able to. Pennywise.
Don't they shoot him with some of the stones?
Yeah, she gets him once.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
face.
So she gets one hit.
Yeah, she gets one hit.
They get the acid to the face and then he runs away by diving into the...
Like he sinks in.
Yeah, he like sinks in. And they're like, yay.
Yeah, I feel like because they hit him with the stone that they're thinking, all right, we defeated him.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe he's at least injured.
Yeah, they're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Yeah. But when they're leaving, like, yeah, they do have that like
lingering worry.
Because this is when they make their promise, right? Because it's like, okay, maybe we got him, but just in case, if he ever comes back, like we all have to promise to come back. So they all make a promise to each other.
Right.
And I think they do like, do they like spit in their hand to do like the shake?
I think they just do the hand on the hand.
Or the hand.
They're like in a circle and they.
Okay, yeah.
That was my reenactment.
They've already all shared an inhaler, so like I think they're pretty connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all promise.
Yeah.
To be there.
And then, so the reason I ask is I can't remember what they did in this one, because in the book and in the new movies, they do like a blood oath. So they like cut their hand and then, make the oath.
Big fan of the blood oath.
Yeah, right. It's more dramatic. But, when the series was being made, there was more of a fear of AIDS. And so
communicable diseases,
not to include that scene. They decided to cut that out.
That's probably fair.
You guys, maybe we should do a blood oath.
I think we should.
Absolutely.
At some point, don't you think?
Like, yes. Why not?
100%.
Yeah, just like a little, like just like
casual
a little,
blood
like,
oath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Maybe next time we're all together. Maybe.
Next week.
Yeah. All right. Well,
tune in next week.
Tune in next week, Snippers, for the blood oath.
We got to think of something like really good.
No, yeah, like
I just found my like ritual and seance devil worshipping book, so I can bring that.
Yeah,
I've got right here. So
I've got a couple of those too.
Yeah, I could bring that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. We'll put something together.
Yeah.
Okay. So then
So anyways.
So Laura, maybe you can tell us. So we're almost at the end of what would be the first half.
Yes.
So we get the children and then we get one final scene. And then that was technically episode 1, chapter 1, whatever you want to call it, the end.
Correct. Yep.
Which is that we go back to adult Stan.
Yes. An adult Stan is who I always think of him from being the uncle in My Girl.
Yes.
One of the best movies ever made, but also so sad. And you know what I must say? I know we're a spooky movie podcast, but My Girl is a great movie. And My Girl 2, I stand by this statement, also an amazing movie.
I don't know if I've seen
Very different.
It's amazing.
My Girl 2.
So good.
I feel the same way about Father of the Bride and Father of the Bride Part 2.
Oh, both good. They're different, but like neither one is better.
And if I had to choose one to only ever watch again, it would be the second.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
There's some movies like that where like the sequel either holds up or maybe is. I feel that way about Alien and Aliens.
Yes.
Which we need to do.
Yes.
Sometime soon.
So anyway, I don't know where we even were talking.
So I think some things to note about Stan before we talk about this scene. So he always was he needed empirical evidence.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of Jane. Like he needs, like he's very, like, it took him a long time, even though he loved his friends, but a long time to kind of accept the fact that it was actually happening, because he's like, this can't empirically be happening.
Yeah. He was definitely the last one to believe it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he also had like that scene with it at the end. Like, he had been pulled by the bullies, and then I think something happened to where it hit him harder. And I might have written this down somewhere else, but oh yeah, what it is we learn this later. In that moment where they thought they defeated him, Stan admitted that he saw the real it, and he explained it wasn't a clown.
Right.
It was just fear itself. It was the deadlights, is what he called it.
Deadlights.
So he really, really struggled. So when they all were going to come back to Derry, because they all got the call from Mike, Stan was, he was just overcome. He was just overcome with fear, and I think he could not let himself get back there. So trigger warning, it was a hard scene, but he did die by suicide. But what was creepy about this scene is his wife then comes in to find him, and she, sees him dead in the bathroom, but then she sees in blood written on the wall, it.
And it was like the perfect script.
Yeah.
And that's when it cuts.
And
right?
then that's the, which, my God, again, made for TV.
It was a harsh scene, I must say.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, that's, I guess, a way to end it. Again, made for TV. Episode 1.
Things that it's gotten soft these days. Kids don't know what it used to be.
Oh man. Yeah. So there we go.
So if you're watching it, this is a good time to take a break. Yep. And maybe this is a good time to talk about what we're sipping on.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because I think Laura had the idea for this one. Inspiration.
I did, because in the first thing we see with Georgie, where he goes to the sewer and he sees it mentions something about like, we got rides and balloons and cotton candy. Like, he says cotton candy, and he's a clown, and he's trying to appeal to kids. And what appeals to kids more than cotton candy? And Brianna, I know you love cotton candy.
I love cotton candy. If there is a cotton candy flavor of anything, ice cream, cake, I don't care.
Oh.
I will have it.
Okay, wait, have you seen those cotton candy like cakes that were trending a while ago?
Yes.
Where like it's just like really pressed down.
I really wanted to try to make one or buy one.
It honestly looks really hard.
No, but it looked amazing. Like, do you remember that cotton candy bubble yum gum?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that shit. Love cotton candy.
So cotton candy can get a little sweet. So here's what we're recommending for our cocktail. It is called hold on, what is it called? I had the recipe pulled up, and then, it's called the cotton candy cocktail.
I never would have guessed.
So to kind of soften the sweetness, you'll use 2 dashes of, I can never say this word. It's just the typical bitters.
The bitters.
What it's called? Angostura?
Angostura.
It's just that typical one that you see that has the label that doesn't fit on the freaking bottle.
Yeah.
Which I guess they do that by design now. Like, they do that purposely.
No, it is. It's
frustrating.
Like their thing.
Yeah. So do that, and then do a large piece of cotton candy. I would recommend pink, but it doesn't have to be pink. Whatever color you want.
Oh.
A lemon zest for garnish, and then 5 ounces of sparkling rosé, chilled sparkling rosé, because you're not going to want to shake it because it sparkles.
Yes.
Right.
And just add that all together, stir it with a spoon. You got yourself a pretty cocktail.
I love cotton candy.
That's so on theme. I love it.
It's so good. It's my favorite flavor. I had a cotton candy donut not that long ago, you guys.
Ooh.
It was so good.
Okay, wait, now was it like a donut with cotton candy on it, or was it like the cakes where it's actually just cotton candy like compacted?
So the actual donut was just a normal donut, but then the glaze like frosting was cotton candy, and then it had cotton candy on top of it too. So actually wasn't too much because it was just a normal donut. So
yeah,
it was really good.
So there's a place that opened up just not too far from us, and it's a hot pot place. So kind of all you can eat hot pot. It's actually very, very good. But they also have a make your own cotton candy. So they just have all of these different flavors of cotton candy powder, and then they have a cotton candy maker, and you just add your scoop, and then you just twirl your own cotton candy.
Brianna, have you been?
No, I had no. This is the first time hearing of this.
Okay, Blood Oath followed by make your own cotton candy. Ladies,
I am so here for this.
This trip is coming together.
You guys, I figured it out.
It's a date. It's perfect.
Love it.
I could talk about cotton candy for an hour. I love it.
But I think we have officially now gotten to an hour of talking about cotton candy. So
so we'll come back.
Moving on.
Okay, so at this point we cut to what would have been episode 2, part 2, chapter 2, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like we've actually talked about them as like adults and kids. We've probably even talked about parts of part 2.
Right.
We have.
So we can go a little quicker through part 2 of the movie.
Because I think really it's, the adults start to come back and they slowly start to have more visions and memories. So I will say for some of the ones as the kids, I thought they really stood out, and different kids had different standout visions when they came home to me.
Right.
Like I will say this is a very quick one, but Bill, as he's arriving, sees a vision. There's 7 graves
that
have been dug, but one is filled already.
Right.
He doesn't know that Stan has died at this point.
Right.
Which I just thought that was like a really creepy touch.
Yeah.
And it is in one of the graves.
No, that was a really good one. I liked that one. I also liked, I think it was Richie when he got back. At the library, because that's, I think, where Mike maybe had said to me, or they knew that Mike worked there. I don't know. So either he went to the library looking for him.
Yeah.
And you get Pennywise just like completely messing with him. Because again, we've already seen like Pennywise, it does things that no one else can see. And like and I think this was actually a good blend of comedy. Like he just like is so over the top, like trying to get his attention, just like screaming while Richie's trying to make. So like, it's like Richie's like screaming at this like librarian trying to find Mike. And it's like, why are you screaming?
Yeah, what are you doing?
You just get Pennywise like freaking out. And then once he finally takes the seat, Pennywise sends a bunch of balloons that are again just filled with blood. And then they pop right as they get in front of people. So people just like sitting there reading a book, and the balloon just pops, and it's just like full splatter of blood just all over the library. I thought that one was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a very cool scene.
I love the touch of like none of them know what's happening. So as they're getting these like full faces of blood, they're just not reacting at all. Like it's so cool.
Yeah. This was a good like comedic one. Like this one was just like fun to watch.
And then, so we see all of the visions. We've, talked about a lot of them. One thing of note as well is that Bill's wife, Audra, who was living in Hampstead Heath with him, she decides, despite being like told by their a-hole boss that she's going to be fired, she's like, no, something is wrong with my husband. Like, I gotta go. So we know that she's on her way to join them as they're all having all these visions.
Right.
But then, like they all get together at this,
like a Chinese restaurant,
Chinese food restaurant. Yeah. And they all kind of like come in slowly. And that's where we see like the kissing as they're reuniting and things like that. Then they have like this like cute little like scene of them all just like, they're drinking, they're laughing, they're talking. It's like
another montage.
Their montage. They're just having they're just friends. They seem joyful. It's so happy. And then that all goes to shit.
And then it all comes to an end when they get their fortune cookies at the end of the meal.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to remember. So they all get the fortune cookies come like on a plate, right?
Yeah, and so they all take one.
Yeah. And as they go to open them, it's just like I mean, I feel like one of the creepiest ones is like the baby bird.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like a baby bird with no feathers. It's like dying on the table.
Yeah.
I really liked Bev's with the blood that like splatters as she opens it. I liked that one as well.
Yeah.
But they each have their own horror.
Yeah, like bugs. I think maybe
like
it's just cockroach or something. Right. I think one of them gets an eyeball or something. Like it's just an awful way to end this dinner.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think they all,
one thing that they did talk about during the dinner too that's important is that they talk about how Henry, the bully whose hair turned white, 30 years ago, after their whole incident where they got rid of it, he confessed and said, yeah, I'm the one that killed Georgie and those other kids. Like, it was me.
Yep.
And he's in the insane asylum.
Yeah, they say that he even talked about the clown, but that no one believed him. Right. So it was like, it was very much so like they heard what they wanted to hear and they were like, he confessed. That's enough. Yep. You don't need to listen to anything else. So yeah, we get like, it's like straight out of Teletubbies, right? It's like Pennywise on the moon telling him, you gotta come back. You have more work to do.
Right.
Fucking love. Let me tell you, I can talk about how much I love cotton candy. Don't get me fucking started on Teletubbies. love Teletubbies.
We know. We're going to make a Spooky Sips trip to that bog thing that you found. Yeah.
To the bog?
Yeah, that's a whole separate story.
That's a whole nother story. I don't think I've told that story.
Oh my God.
That's for another time.
Brianna knows every detail about the history of Teletubbies.
I have like a lot of insider knowledge.
I'm so excited. Well, I mean, yeah, we have a chat.
No, we do. Matt, Yvette, and I have a Teletubbies chat.
We do have a Teletubbies chat.
That's weird, guys. That's really weird. You're grown-ass women.
Okay, moving on.
Because it's in my algorithm, okay? It knows how much I love that.
That's why you're not invited to the Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Hey, I can get on board. I like the little video you sent me of the guy singing about Teletubbies and motherfucking poo.
Oh, I love that one.
Anyway.
So, that is one of our next deaths. I guess.
I lost all train of thought.
Is the Teletubby?
No, we go to like the jail or the hospital.
Henry.
With Henry. It's one of the, I don't know, is he like a guard or the employee at wherever Henry is being held?
A guard.
Right. Which like this one I thought was honestly just kind of funny. So I think we start kind of like bottom up. So you see like the clown, it's like, oh, it's Pennywise.
Right.
But surprise, it's not Pennywise's head. It's a dog. Yes. But it was such a cute dog.
Yeah, what are you doing here? What's happening?
It was like, this one's kind of cute.
Yeah, I thought that scene was a little cheesy. And I think it was trying to get at the guard was probably afraid of dogs, right? So that's why it became that. But
yeah.
Right.
But I swear that dog was like really cute. Like it wasn't like a scary looking dog.
No, it was just a cute dog.
Yeah, it was a cute dog.
So that was one of our next deaths.
So, and I think, so the reason why Henry is now trying to get out of the asylum is because it is trying to convince him, because it knows I can't kill them if they don't believe in me. Because, I can only kill them if they have fear. But you are a human, so you can kill them whether they believe or not. And then they can come join us and they can float. So that's why he's trying
his dirty work.
Get him out. Yeah.
Right.
Well, because I think, so what happens after the fortune cookies is they all kind of like run out, but then they go to the library and they open up a fridge and like they see this like ghost version of Stan who's like talking to them.
Like his head.
Like just his head.
Just the head.
Just his head is in the fridge and he's talking to them and he's saying like, it starts as Stan's voice and then becomes it, and it's very scary. And then like, I did like the cool scene of all the books flying off the shelf in the library, but they're sticking together and they're, trying to remain strong to not believe. So I think it has realized I got to call for reinforcements.
Yep. So then we get, I feel like we can just go into Henry's scene. because the group is all together. Where are they? Are they at Mike's like house?
I wondered that too. Did they rent like some giant Airbnb? Because like all of a sudden they're in this like
Airbnb.
Well, because remember when the ponytail guy gets there, they pull up to Mike's place because it's in like the poor part of town, they call it, but it's a big house, and he mentions that like, oh, it's just me here.
Yeah,
but no, it was a different house that they were in.
Was
it was
it?
like
Okay.
this like big
huge.
mansion Airbnb.
Okay.
Like I'm pretty sure it invented Airbnb.
Yeah. So they were at maybe a hotel. I guess like in a town like that though, in that like B&B style,
It could just be a bed and breakfast.
Yeah. So they
I don't think it really matters.
No,
we must. No.
They booked out the dairy bed and breakfast.
Wait, you guys.
As the editor, sometimes I feel like I need like a little sign that I can like hold up when it's like back on target, stay on target.
No, these are like a little thing that can like zap us.
Yeah.
No,
or
guys,
like a whip.
Wait, I have evidence to support that this was a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
They all when they all left the next day after the scene with Henry, they were like, just send our charges to our bill on file, and they all like ran out. So they like checked out. So it was
it was. See, this was important, Brianna.
I would have been up all night.
We're wondering.
I couldn't have slept if I didn't know.
Our fans need to know.
They need to know. It was the dairy bed and breakfast. So they're all there. When Henry comes in and starts to attack Mike, who I think is alone in his room at this point.
Yes. Okay. Because they're all hanging out and they're like, we must never split up. We must all stay together. But then Bev gets cold. So Bill or Ben or whatever the fuck one of them is, they decide that they need to go up and get her a shawl. Yeah. And so Mike goes with them, and then they get to the top of the stairs all together, and they're like, okay, everyone go to your own room by yourself. Well, would it have taken that long? Go to one room first, the next room next, and then the next room?
It's the key of all scary movies. Never split up.
But they split up, and then they all start to get attacked.
Yep.
Well, not all of them. You can tell.
If like when you're listening to this, there's parts that you're like, I know I talked about that, but it's not in the final edit. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
All right, moving on.
Henry attacks Mike.
Yeah.
With like a knife. I think he comes with a knife, and they're kind of like fighting, like there's a kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Kerfuffle.
That the rest of the group hears, and as they're coming in, I don't remember exactly like how it happens, but Henry falls with Mike and stabs himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he ends up like on the floor with the knife. He's been stabbed, and I think that is our next death. Was Henry the bully?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't really know if they like close that out. Like I don't know what they do with Henry.
They'll just leave the body there. They'll come back.
I'm trying to remember what do they do with that?
So the things I noted down that were of importance in this scene is Bev at one point had a moment of terrible acting where she was just so upset about everything that happened, and the fact that Henry had just been killed and they now needed to figure that out. And she goes, "Why is it so mean?" And I'm like, that's the understatement of the year. This monster demon is not being mean to you, Bev, honey.
Why is Pennywise so mean?
Why is it so mean? And I just couldn't handle that line.
Poor thing. She's got a lot of trauma,
Yeah.
She is.
She's
you
just
have to
doing her
excuse
best.
But then there had been earlier the scene of like Bev and Ben making out, but then she turned out to be it. But then they actually start making out. Mm-hmm. So they have a little love connection.
Like that was you that wrote the poem.
And then they decide to lie about Henry being stabbed. So instead of just because he's a convicted killer who broke out of prison and then came to kill you and then ended up dying. Why not just say that?
Yeah.
So they decide to just lie about it. I think they just like leave like they turn the TV on and they're like, we're just gonna pretend like he just died here or something.
We're just gonna move on.
Yeah.
And then, and on the TV, the reporter comes on and she's talking about how a little girl had recently died and was the victim of, the latest wave of attacks. So like maybe that's the eighth death.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to count it, but it was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We hear it's someone that happened.
And this is also when I wrote down in my notes, I'm feeling restless. So this is the part of the movie where I think it gets drawn out for about 40 minutes that really didn't need to be there.
Yeah. Like at this point, maybe that's when Bill's wife comes back.
Yeah, she comes back.
We know she
goes to like get gas at a gas station, and then I think she gets abducted by the she sees the dead lights. And what they do say is that once you see the dead lights, you want to go to them. It like kind of possesses you or something. But this part just kind of
So I say we just get to
it drug on
the juice, the reason we're all here.
Yeah.
So
we get kind of like they're preparing to go, but I think Bev gets her slingshot, like they're like, okay, it worked last time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they realize Mike had gone back and got the silver nugget earrings.
Yeah. It's like, I decided to go back.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I thought, maybe we needed them. So they decide they're going to go kill it again. They're going to finish the job this time.
Yeah.
And as they're walking in the same place they saw the koosh ball, they see Audra's purse. Audra, the wife of Bill, who was moments ago just making out, lingeringly kissing.
Yeah, it was a long kiss.
But so he, like a fool, runs away by himself.
Yeah.
So he separates from the group.
Which, again, never a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, and then they see a newspaper boat coming down the river. Kind of like Georgie's. And then Bill sees Georgie, who's kind of dead and decaying. But
still so cute.
And he's still so cute. And they're all trying to convince Bill, that's not really Georgie. Don't believe it. Stick with the group.
And that's when Bill tells Pennywise or it to show itself. I think he realizes this isn't Georgie.
Yeah, come on, man.
Come on
let's
out.
Do it.
Let's fight. Let's do it this time.
Because I think they realize that because it comes out every 30 years and then goes away, they're like, oh, it comes out to feed. And in order to feed, it must take a physical form. So if we can actually kill the physical form, not the clown, but the physical form, then we can actually kill it.
Yes. Yeah. They realize they need him to physically appear.
So
it's they go through all these little doors.
Yeah, there's
it goes from
it's kind of they're going through catacombs.
Yeah, they're going through things.
Then they're going to go through the door where they know it is, and then this was so random. Okay, so at this point they're all 40 or 40s, and they've never had kids, which they realize is a coincidence, not a coincidence, but a sign that they're special or whatever. But then all of a sudden Eddie's like, oh, by the way, guys, I know we're in this really urgent life or death situation. I just want to let you all know I'm a virgin. What the fuck was that about?
Yeah, that
had nothing to do with anything.
No. And I think that may have even been the actor's idea, if I'm remembering that right from the documentary, where it was and I do kind of get it, where it's he felt like Eddie's character wasn't quite complete. You get kind of this idea that he has something he wants to talk about, it's what is his secret or his trauma or his, so that, I think that was the actor who played Eddie. That was his idea of maybe that's what we have him be, this is what they're going to reveal. And and I saw some people also theorize, it's it might be related to the scene that everyone knows about that was in the book and is not in either of the two movies.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's
kind of a way to call to that without having to show anything.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
I agree, though. It was kind of weird.
It was weird and a waste of time.
Yeah. Which, again, I feel like we talked, like, it does, there's kind of a lull before they finally get to, like, fighting the monster.
We've had a few of those moments.
You know, it's like,
this episode.
No, we have not.
We've been so good.
No, we've been on topic.
We're solving mysteries.
Right. We know the history of the koosh ball. We know it was a B&B. These are very important details.
I can tell you insider knowledge about Teletubbies if you want.
Yeah. These are the things that need to be talked about. To know. And so, but yeah, it's like they go from this lull to like, okay, we're finally going to get them to fight the monster. And it's like, hey guys, I'm a virgin. It's like, okay. And then, but it's like they even joke about it in the movie. So like one of the other characters is like, well, I can't help you with that. Right. And it's like, so it's like, again, it's not even just us being like, okay, kind of a weird thing to say. It's like the movie itself is like, okay, that was weird. Let's move on.
Weird, but let's go.
And yet, we've talked about that longer than some of the things that purposely were in the movie.
That's true.
Maybe he was on something.
We do have a propensity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
All right, so they go through the door.
Yes. And then after Eddie's confession, we see it. And it is a spider.
Spider alien thing.
A spider alien
with like a glowy hexagon chest thing.
It looks like a turtle shell. The chest. I feel like when we see it glowing.
Yep.
So yeah, it's kind of like an alien spider.
It's a pretty lackluster monster, I must say. I was disappointed.
It's so disappointing. Yeah. Like the effects don't look great.
Like honestly, if it had just been like a black cloud that was rolling around, I think that would have had more impact.
Yeah, like I don't know if you guys watched it, but like it was like this is on par with what I saw in like Power Rangers.
Yeah,
like the Power Rangers monsters.
It was kind of like a Power Rangers monsters. You're totally right.
Like that's it. It was So we get the alien spider that comes and grabs Eddie, and it's like grabs him with his little arms.
And I wasn't sure if Eddie had died at this point. Like,
I
wasn't sure.
I think he maybe did. I don't know.
I think
he kind of had him.
No, he didn't, because they carried him out after.
Oh, that's true. Okay, we'll assume they saved him. So we'll say that's not a death. They saved him at the end.
And like, Bev shoots him, and he kind of goes down, but he doesn't die. Mm-hmm. So although the effects of this were bad, I do like how they all just start beating up with their hands, like their fists and feet, beating up this giant spider alien thing.
Yeah.
And literally ripping out its organs like it's with their bare hands.
You know, they were mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did like the anger with which they went and just like absolutely attacked this alien spider.
So then it's dead, but we should say that on their way to this spider, they had found this room that was this basically just giant spider web with all of these victims in it, one of whom was Audra.
Yes.
So so they kill it. It's defeated.
Yeah. And then they go like, I think it's heart. Like
I think it's heart, yeah.
Yeah, like they're like tearing into it, and they all kind of like reach, like carry something out of it.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like it's heart, like it's dead.
So then it's dead. They go get Audra. They pick up Eddie's, kind of beaten down but alive body, and they just leave.
We see like Audra's like they're just like lowered down like from the webs.
Yeah,
it's like okay,
Mm-hmm. And she's alive, but she's like comatose.
Yeah,
like and she's not talking.
And so we get this scene, which is like and again like me. And I'm not going to blame the fact that it's a long movie. I like long movies. I'm like, you know what? Dune should have been longer. Like, I'm fine with a long movie. But like, this scene was so weird. It's like not Eddie. Bill is trying to figure out what to do with Audra. And they're like packing up. Like they're putting their bags in the cab. And he looks over and he sees his bike. And
because several times during the movie, he like gets these moments of like adventure in him. And so the phrase he says is he goes, hi ho, silver, away. cheesy as shit.
It's so cheesy.
So I wrote down, hi-ho, Silver, away, fast bike. Snaps her out of it.
Okay, but actually, like, I was scared. The way he was like, okay, I'm going to wake her up with my bike because that's how this works. I'm going to save her by us riding the bike. This gave me anxiety because it was a regular bike that he is, he's sitting on it like a normal bike. And then Audra is sitting on it like sideways.
Yes.
Like just on the frame.
Like a lady,
But she's not like conscious, so she can't hold herself up.
No. Yeah, so she's just sitting on like the frame of the bike where it's like that would absolutely like screw your balance. And they're biking away, and then they're like biking like downhill onto oncoming traffic, because what a way to feel alive.
And this like seems like a hill from San Francisco, like a super steep hill down a busy street. Like, but then she's like, oh wait.
As they're like causing collisions, like cars are just crashing in the intersection.
Yeah.
And like, this gave me real life anxiety. I was like, no, you should not ride a bike like that.
No, it was bad. And then they start kissing, and that's the end.
Yeah.
I mean, better than the book ending, but.
Well, we also do learn that Ben and Bev got married and had a baby.
We do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's just like a pretty wrap it up with a bow throwaway to me, I think. But
like, happily ever after.
What's the book ending?
So the book ending's weird.
It's an orgy of children.
So so the kids have an orgy.
Wait, are you kidding me?
No. So the way
And in the book, Bev is 11. That's her age. So she's not
they're
even
12
like...
in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, they're supposed to be 12.
Wait.
Because they're
I don't know this information.
Oh yeah. No, so that's like the thing that everyone talks about, that is like, it's in the book but definitely not in anything else. And
that's what you were alluding to?
It's so they have like it's when they all think they're gonna die as kids, and so they have like an orgy, but there's only one girl.
So it's really, because she thinks in the book, she's like, if I have sex with everyone, we'll get out of here. So she does. Yeah. And like, there's a really gross detail that like Ben is apparently very well endowed. And so that's her first orgasm.
That's why she married him.
And again, this is a child.
Yeah. Like, it's pretty obvious why they couldn't put it in the movie.
But it's so funny because I remember Stephen King talked about it once in an interview. Not even that long ago. I think this was after the 2017. And he was like, people are just sensitive. I don't get why they don't put it in the movie.
Okay, I did kind of appreciate his quote, because he talks about how it's like, yeah, like people are fine with kids dying.
Right.
Like, he's like, no one had any complaints about all the children dying in the books. And he was like, but the having sex is like so upsetting to everyone. And it's like, I don't want to see it. I get why they didn't put it in the book.
To him, it like symbolized their transition to adulthood.
Exactly. Like, it was like, this is the clear, like they're no longer kids, they're adults.
Even though they're actually minors and children.
Yeah. Well, but so then on top of that, it's like, it gets, because, we get the alien spider, but like in the book, you also meet the enemy of it, like the main enemy of it, which is a space turtle that's carrying the world on its back.
What?
And so it's from the space turtle that they learn how to defeat it.
By the orgy, or by the ripping out its heart?
By not being afraid of it.
Oh, okay.
If we said, Laura, we're just kidding, Yvette and I met earlier and we talked about to fuck with you, that would be more believable than being like, no, it actually is the true story.
Yeah, that's
because it really is. That's
because I guess I've been naive and sheltered because I've never read the book or like looked stuff up about this. But
I mean, the book is a freaking commitment.
But I can't believe that that's true.
Yeah,
It is.
I swear we did
Like,
not
does the book talk
come
like
together.
details of the orgy?
I mean, it's 1,100 pages. I'm sure it wasn't.
I mean, it's an entire chapter just about the sex.
Yeah.
I just am so upset right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do my psych segment.
That's.
I just can't believe you haven't heard about this.
Yeah.
I've never heard this before.
Interesting.
I don't know how I've never heard it before. I think Jason's even read the book and he's never mentioned this to me. Just living in a sheltered world and I'm a sheltered girl.
You're so pretty.
Today was the day. Laura's life changed.
There you go, kids. That was the movie. The end.
Well, sorry we had to break it to you, Laura.
It's all right. It's all right. I can handle it. I'm strong.
Give us some psych on that.
I didn't know of that, so I didn't
There's
know
a lot there.
Also, I just think because of my job, like it doesn't matter what kind of incognito mode I use. I can't research that.
No,
I'm not allowed.
That's just not.
You will be arrested.
There's just no. Yeah. No. And
I don't
There's no
want
good
to.
way to Google this. So, like, I wouldn't recommend Googling anything that you think will lead you to this.
No. Yeah, I mean, you can just say like book ending of it.
Yes.
And
it'll book ending.
It'll all
be
pop
there.
up.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't type in like child orgy.
No. Instant arrest. Also, I don't want to. Oh.
I'm just gonna cut all this out.
All right, cut all this part out.
I don't want to be on a list.
Like Zoom is listening right now. Sorry, Zoom.
I mean, we're saying we don't. Like,
we take it back.
Zoom is calling 911.
Everything's okay.
God, blame Stephen King.
No, like for real though. We can absolutely blame him.
Weird. What the heck does it have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Well, let's move on.
All right. Anyway,
I can't.
Wait,
I
where's my
haven't
little
read
sign?
it, so
I need
that's
to
where
hold
we'll
up.
end our coverage.
So anyway,
of that.
coulrophobia.
Which is
Well, are we ready for psych?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just remember, she's not a real doctor, but they're not real children. Thank God.
We're all just trolling on the turtle's back.
They're all floating down there.
Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna kind of edit some of this like on the fly just for time.
Oh yeah.
I knew this was going to be a long one, but okay. Let's talk about what I think this movie has incited across the world. Book across the world, especially America. Coulrophobia. Any guesses? It's pretty
Fear
obvious.
of clowns.
Yes. Fear of clowns. So let's talk about fear of clowns. Are either of you afraid of clowns?
No.
Really?
No, I mean, I don't really like clowns.
Yeah, like I don't find them enjoyable, really. But
like, I think they're pretty stupid. Like, you know, and at a haunted house, like they can be creepy. But I'm not like, I don't see a clown and panic.
Right.
Yeah.
So why do some people find clowns scary to the point of having a phobia? So there's a difference between just like being afraid of clowns and coulrophobia, which is like the intense, debilitating fear of clowns. Mm-hmm. What? Am I saying it wrong?
No, I was just thinking about Teletubbies.
Sorry, I'm thinking about Teletubbies.
Because I have a lot of facts on their outfits, which made me think of clowns.
You have a problem. You need to go to like Teletubbies Anonymous. That is too much.
I'm sorry. Okay, continue. I will get a hold of myself.
This is why you're not invited to the group chat, Laura.
I'm gonna have to do like an analysis of why people would have such an affinity for Teletubbies, because this is weird, man. It's freaking weird.
Anyway.
Fear
I'll
of
just
clowns?
mute myself. Continue.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, because I can see it in your face. You have that guilty, I'm thinking of something funny face.
That's much better. That's your serious face.
Yeah.
Ay. Well, you know what? Actually, some of the reasons why people would be afraid of clowns are going to be the same as why people are afraid of Teletubbies.
Oh.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
So why are clowns and Teletubbies scary? One is that they're insincere. They kind of hide their true emotions. They like put on this mask of being like happy and goofy all the time, but that's clear. It's like a clearly exaggerated form of emotion. Also, their makeup or costumes are unnatural and they hide their facial expressions, which can make people really uncomfortable because it can send these mixed messages.
Yeah.
And then I think this one specifically also works with Teletubbies and clowns. And I had never heard this term before. Have either of you heard the term of uncanny valley?
Oh, yes.
No.
I never have heard this before.
No.
So do you know what it is?
Yeah, it's like when something is like, it's like close to reality, but not. Like, it's like you can tell that something is just off of what it would be.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So it's and specifically, it's when it's the feeling of unease or revulsion that you have when you see something that's human-like. Like they're almost human, but they aren't. It was quite.
Stop thinking of Teletubbies.
Stop thinking of Teletubbies. I have an uncanny valley about Teletubbies.
Just turn my video off.
You're like, there's no way people would have TVs on their bellies.
Exactly. It's weird, man.
That's what I was thinking.
Uncanny valley. Well, because honestly, Teletubbies are kind of like robots to me in my mind with like the TV on their bellies. And it was a guy in Japan or like some at like Japan Institute of something. He's the one that coined that term uncanny valley to refer to robots.
Okay.
They're like human-like, but not really human.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically like Teletubbies and clowns have like these exaggerated features that are human-like, but not really human.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So now
I'm going to title this episode Teletubbies. That's it. That's what we're calling it.
Oh my God. Is there like a Teletubbies horror movie?
God,
like there's no way they're
so.
right. They made like a Winnie the Pooh one. Like,
yes. If not, we'll make one.
No.
So
Brianna, I think you've sent me one about like a creepy ass Teletubby.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I really am into Teletubbies.
Add it to the queue. We're watching it. And then honestly, it's just going to be Brianna. Like, we'll be there.
No, but it'll just be me talking the whole time. It'll be my greatest performance.
I love this for you. Maybe that's going to be an October special.
I'm really looking forward to this. You know, if someone's like, who's your sister? You'll just show them that.
Just that one. Yeah.
He's the Teletubby expert.
Episode 57.
Yeah. So anyways, I will try to keep my shit together. You were saying.
I mean, I just don't even know how to go from here, but okay, we'll keep talking about fear of clowns. So clowns are also scary because they're unpredictable. They act kind of manic.
They do.
Like, no one's that insanely happy all the time.
No, they do act manic.
And that's what I actually think Tim Curry did so well in this movie, because really, there was nothing obviously wrong, like especially in that scene in the library where he's just like scaring the hell out of Richie or Eddie. I forget them. Like I get them confused. But like he was just acting like a clown. Like he's laughing and it's so funny and like, don't you want to like, he's like playing games or pranks or whatever, but
it's so exaggerated though that it is unhinged.
Yeah.
So that like kind of manic quality like freaks us out. One of the biggest things is about just stories of scary clowns in media, like books and movies. I remember when my very first year as an official school psychologist was the year that, it was 2016, and it was the year that all those rumors of actual clowns going out and killing kids was a thing. And I had so many little counseling sessions with kids in crisis in school, knowing that clowns were coming to get them because their friends saw them on the playground.
What a weird time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird
thing to have happened.
Yeah. Another reason why someone might be afraid of clowns is if they had a bad experience in the past. Although what's interesting is there was this one like very large study, and it was called it was to study fear of clowns, and it was called the OFCQ, the Origin of Fear of Clowns Questionnaire. It's very official.
Okay.
But there was 528 participants, and so they came to some themes as to why people actually are afraid of clowns. Usually it's the top ones are they're not sure if the clowns have a harmful intent or not, which is hard to tell. Media influences, the fact that their behavior is like unpredictable and that creepy appearance that they can have. But most fear of clowns actually does not come from past personal experience. So like most people have not had a bad experience with a clown.
Right.
It's all the stories of it.
Oh, yeah.
And like
that's fair.
That makes sense.
That seems right.
Yeah. I mean, think about, again, right? This was a TV special. Like, how many kids just glanced at the TV while Pennywise was doing one of his transformations from kind of normal-looking clown to clown with super sharp teeth that is going to tear your arm off?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So who has coulrophobia? Both adults and kids. And prevalence rates are really, really varied. So like one study or source said 1 in 10 people have it.
1 in 10?
One study said 1 in 100.
Okay.
A recent, actually, one of the larger studies that's happened suggested that over 50% of people, I think it was like 53%, have some degree of fear of clowns. Like not a phobia, but like some like uneasiness with clowns.
Okay. Yeah.
A sad prevalence that I read was, it was talking about 10 kids out of 1,000 kids in this study that were in hospitals. They were afraid of the clowns that were brought to cheer them up.
Oh.
So I mean, it's only 10 out of 1,000, right? But I just thought that was so sad. Like
these poor 10 kids.
These kids are in hospitals. Sad. Probably really tragic, and like these clowns come in to cheer them up, and they're just like traumatized.
Scare the shit out of them.
Yeah, they're like, thanks, I feel worse.
Right. So, just like other phobias we've talked about, there's all kinds of treatment you can do, like exposure therapy, like DBT, CBT, like relaxation techniques, mindfulness. But what I thought was the most interesting one, and that you could research which ones are in your community, are support groups. There are support groups for clown phobias.
I'm going to find one and attend and talk about Teletubbies.
Like, I couldn't find a support group for this, so
please, you guys.
Teletubby support group. Teletubby fan club.
Yeah.
Okay, who's your favorite Teletubby?
Poe, the red one.
Oh, okay. Which is the yellow one? That's Tinky Winky?
No, Tinky Winky's the purple one.
God, I hate that you know that.
I think yellow is Dipsy. No, yellow is Lala.
So I'm yellow. I like the yellow one. What's yours, Yvette?
I don't have a favorite.
Well, now you can't cut out any of the things about Teletubbies because
no, it's all.
I am titling this episode Teletubbies. That's happening.
Yeah, like you could call it It's Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, so next topic is talking about repressed memories. Because I feel like that was a very big theme.
No, it is. It's a big part of the movie that they all forget, right?
So repressed memories would occur when a trauma is too severe to be kept in your consciousness or your conscious memory. So you remove it by either repression or dissociation or both. And then at a later time, it might be recalled, often under circumstances that are debated. So in the movie It specifically, the characters, they have their repressed memories and they bury them in their unconscious mind as this defense mechanism for what happened with the clown. But here's some problems with the concept of repressed memories. So it originally was a Freudian concept, and Freud was full of shit. If I could like diagnose Freud with Freudian's concept, he would have everything under the book.
Love that.
So it just essentially it lacks empirical support. So there's really little scientific evidence to support the way that people view repressed memories, in that like you repress them and then they're brought out through therapy or through these events that like trigger the memory. There's very little evidence that really happens. In fact, if anything, it's the opposite. Research shows that traumatic events, like the most traumatic memories that you have, as much as you might want to forget them, those are the ones you actually remember the most. Like these traumatic memories are actually sometimes the most accurate memories you have. Because the other problem is that like memory is malleable. Like people think that it's like you have these snapshots of what happened. Like you go back and you watch a recording of a movie and that's what happened. But really, especially those that have like strong emotions, sometimes like you remember parts and then you fill in the gaps. And we've talked about that a lot on this episode. But it's interesting because a lot of times they're constructed. Like you know certain things and you know your emotions. And so you add stuff to them. And it kind of got me to thinking like, there's so many quote unquote memories that I have like how much of it is for better or worse, what my mind has made that memory.
Or like what people have told you, you know, like what like parents or like family members have told you about when you were a kid, where it's like, is that a memory or have they just told it to me enough times that that's how I think I remember it? Yeah.
So the other thing of note about repressed memories is that the concept really got going and people were super into it in the 80s and 90s, which it was written in what, like 86 or something?
Yeah, I think it came out 86, so he probably wrote it in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the 90s was when this movie came out in 1990. So it was just like a really hot topic, which has since now, like most in the psychologist like communities, it's not a thing, especially because when people like uncover their repressed memories, it was actually something called the recovered memory movement and memory wars, where it's like all these people go to these psychologists and they like go to hypnosis and they like recover these memories. But really it's all, even if the psychologist or psychiatrist was not trying to, they kind of plant the little seeds of memories, and then the patients construct what they think the memory was based off of partial memories and like what they maybe think the therapist wants to hear and maybe what they would like to have happened or are afraid of what might have happened.
Well, and see, that's interesting because at least this was my take while watching the movie. I thought it was like it magic that made them forget.
Right.
Like I thought it was like, you know, its spirit made them forget, not like organic repressed memories.
Right. And
you know what I mean?
I think this movie was more that, but it so kind of took the form of a thing happened and then it was so traumatic they forgot it. And then all of a sudden they hear this connection that triggers the memory to come back. So I do think it magic was a huge part of it, but it still, I felt very much took a theme of repressed memories.
Well, and Mike, who stuck around, never lost his memory. So if it was fully it magic, he would have forgotten too. So like there was something to it coming back, then the memories coming back once they came back to Derry.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then there's a lot of diagnoses I could go into, but they're all, we've kind of done some of them. The only exception to that is one that we haven't talked about yet. And it is actually one that I've seen sometimes. And this is called child onset fluency disorder.
No idea what that means.
AKA stuttering.
Oh.
So it's not like a super intensive diagnosis, but really, so stuttering or child onset fluency disorder is just a disturbance in either fluency, time, or the pattern of your speech, which is what Bill had.
Right.
So it's either where you're going to repeat like a sound or a syllable, or you have prolongation of your sound, your words are broken, or just like repetitions of kind of some monosyllables. And it causes anxiety about speaking or limits the effectiveness of your communication. And it's not due to either like sensory, motor, or like a medical or other mental health condition. So causes, it's mostly genetic. People believe it involves differences in your brain structure and function. Males are 4 times more likely to have it than females.
I feel like at least in media representation, it's almost always a male that has it.
Yeah. No, I never thought about it, but when I think, I imagine it being male.
Totally.
And honest, that's actually common that if a disorder is predominantly genetic, they believe, oftentimes that's more males.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's because society fucks women over.
Right. Society fucks women over. Genes fuck over the men.
Oh, that's my official doctoral opinion.
But yeah, about 1% of the population will have this, will have stuttering. And typically it's treated with like medication, therapy, both speech therapy and more like kind of traditional counseling therapy. And what's sad about the stuttering thing is it causes stress and anxiety, but stuttering becomes oftentimes more pronounced when you are feeling stress and anxiety. So it's not like stress and anxiety causes it, but stress and anxiety makes it worse.
Right.
But then it makes you feel stress and anxiety. So it's just like this
spirals
cycle. So like it can make it like really, really hard to get over it. But most of the time it gets a lot better if you, with medications and therapies and stuff like that. Which is why we see Bill as an adult typically has overcome it until he experiences this severe stress and anxiety when he knows that it is back. So yeah.
Loves it.
That's
actually super interesting because I would have never guessed that it was genetic.
No, I had
I thought it was like a social centered thing. I would have never guessed that. So that's really interesting.
And there can be some speech disorders that are more social,
right?
And that almost kind of look like stuttering, but stuttering specifically, it's more of a genetic thing.
Interesting.
Okay, well, should we go over a couple fun facts? I've tried to kind of sprinkle them in as we've talked.
Yes.
So I don't think I have too many left to go over. Most of these come from, I watched a documentary called Pennywise, The Story of It. It came out in like pretty recently. I think it was like 2021.
Oh, okay.
You can find it online. And it just goes through like the making of the movie and stuff. That was only an hour and a half, I think, hour and a half, 2 hours long, which compared to watching the DVD commentary over the whole movie sounded a lot better. So
that would be a lot.
Are from that.
When you do the DVD commentary over the movie, does it make it longer, or it's just the movie with?
It's just the movie with them talking over it usually.
Because then you can't hear the movie though.
Yeah, that would be good if you've already seen the movie.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, and some DVDs will have something like this, like a making of as part of it, if they thought to do something like it while they were filming the movie. So a lot of like DVDs will have this as like bonus content. The one that I rented didn't, only had a DVD commentary.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if I'm up for watching this movie twice.
No, that would be a lot.
Back to back.
That would be a lot.
Is
would
too
be too much. No one should do that. So if you want even more stuff, go check out the Pennywise story of it. That's where a lot of my fun facts are coming from. So in there, they were talking, originally they had a different director. So the screenwriter, Larry Cohen, had been working on it for a couple years. So he worked on taking it from the book into a screenplay, like something that can be made for, a TV movie. He worked on that for years, and they had a director in mind, but the director ended up not working out just because they were working on something else. And so scheduling, they kind of had to drop. So they brought in the new director, Tommy Lee Wallace, kind of last minute, actually, to be like, hey, we're making this, come help us. And part of the reason they brought him in is because he was known for being able to like cut things down. Like, it's like, hey, we kind of said this would be an 8 to 10 hour thing. We want it to be 3 hours. So help us cut this down.
My gosh, that's a big task.
Yeah. And on top of being a director, he was also a writer. And so they figured that was kind of a good thing to have. Someone who could help them write the screenplay, like get it ready. So Larry Cohen, who had primarily written the screenplay, he really did part 1. And then he kind of, he helped write the entire thing, but he like finalized part 1 and then had to go do something else. And so the director, Tommy Lee Wallace, kind of stepped in to do some of the writing for part 2. So there is kind of a change in the 2 parts, at least with some of the writing. The director had never read the book. He kind of thought the screenplay should like speak for itself. It was like, well, he read the book and wrote it into his screenplay.
I wonder if he knew about the orgy.
I don't think he did, because I think he would later go on to read it, and he himself admitted that he probably could have done a better job with part 2, especially.
Yeah.
Because he did more of the writing for that. So, he himself admitted it. I agree.
Yeah.
When they were doing casting, the network kind of had like a short list of people that they were considering for Pennywise, but the casting group, like, I think the Rocky Horror Picture Show had come out like somewhat recently. And so they thought, they were like, Tim Curry's character, like the way he performed would translate so well into a horror movie. Like they were like the way that he can express himself. So they knew they wanted him. They didn't even, like, he didn't audition. They just asked him. He said yes. They said, great. The role is yours.
I love that.
I mean,
like, confidence.
He was so good.
No, he really was. And in the documentary, they talk about how, like, the director, I think, was very, like, off hands. Like, he knew he had a good actor with Tim Curry. So it was like, you take this and run. Like, you know what you're doing. So he didn't really have to give him too much direction.
Nice.
And I feel like he did such a good job.
Yeah.
It was filmed in Vancouver, British Columbia. So Pacific Northwest, very rainy, which actually worked well for them because so many of the scenes, like, they wanted it to be dark, stormy, rainy.
Right.
The only scene where they were really hoping for rain but didn't get it was during that initial scene with Georgie. And so in the scene, you can actually see, like, because it's really sunny. Like, they were hoping it would be a dark and stormy day, but it was like a bright, sunny day.
Yeah.
So they had to make, like, fake rain. And you can see just, like, the sunbeams, like, cutting through, which they were like, at the end of the day, it kind of made the rain more visible because the sun rays
and
were
that does
through,
happen. Like,
which was like, yeah, like, I believed it. I feel like it wasn't, like, noticeably bad.
No.
But for a lot of ways, it actually helped them because then they didn't have to set up a bunch of, like, fake rain everywhere. Right. I also kind of want to, like, see if any of the filming locations are, like, still around. It's like a 6-hour drive. I can go up to Vancouver.
Yeah, you could do that.
That'd be fun.
Right?
We could add it to our road trip.
Spooky Sips road trip.
Yes.
We only have, like, 50 things.
Yeah, like, literally 100 places to go.
This is going to take us 5 years.
Well, no, not 5 years, because here's the thing. We take a sabbatical from work. We take 1 year off, and we just commit. We commit to the road trip.
That's true.
So
I'm here for that.
Done. Yeah.
I'm ready.
I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but that's the dream.
Yeah,
that's what we're working towards.
We'll have like a spooky zip van.
Yes.
Where we can like record. Oh my God.
It's our own mystery machine.
I think it's got to be like a creepy white van with like some blood on it and stuff.
Yes.
Like right out of like Texas.
Windowless.
Get the cops called on us a few times. I'm here for that.
What was our first episode? Was it Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yeah.
What was it?
Because it was ranch water.
Yeah.
Okay.
The old ranch water.
Well, then that's what we got to get. One is out of that.
Yep. Okay. After they cast all the kids and all the adults, they had like a little camp for them so they could like get to know each other, because they wanted the kids to be friends, the adults to be friends, and then they wanted the kids to meet the adults.
That's so cute.
So they could like learn their little mannerisms and like
so cute.
So they had like a little camp. Yeah, it was like get to know each other. They had like a little sign, and it would be like the actor, it was like Ben this way. So it's like, okay, the Bens can go meet over there.
So cute. I love it.
This does seem like one of those where like one of those movies where like they really seem to have such a good time just filming it.
Yeah.
Apparently though, the kids would get into like shenanigans. So there was one time where I guess they were throwing water balloons at like cars. Like while they were on set. But again, they were filming in Canada, and they ended up calling the police on them, and they were like, hey, so like you could be deported, so you guys should probably stop this.
Oh my God. The police said that to the kids?
That's intense.
Okay, like, sorry. They were throwing water balloons. And I think they like had colored the water or something. So they're like throwing water balloons onto like convertibles, which like that is dangerous.
Yeah.
Like if you were driving and then you got attacked by a water balloon, I get it.
That's legitimate.
Don't do that.
Right.
But yeah, that's like, please stop or we will deport you. And you won't be able to make this movie.
Why are so many horror movies made in Canada?
Cheaper, I think.
It's cheaper.
And there's like more desolate land. So if you need like outdoor stuff with no backdrop.
Yeah, well, they also wanted like dark, stormy. So like Pacific Northwest made a lot of sense. And then Canada was just a lot cheaper.
Yep.
It made sense.
Okay.
Apparently for the auditioning for 12-year-old Ben, so the smaller Ben, I guess they had like the big auditions where like, all the kids showed up to audition for like all the kids that they wanted. And the actor that ended up playing 12-year-old Ben, he was like, wait, there's no other Bens. Like it was kind of just him for that character. And he was like, yeah, like this never happened. But it was like, hey, like where is everyone else? And like, I guess like the crew told him, they're like, yeah, it's probably going to be you for Ben. Like, we think we're auditioning like another kid in Texas or something, but it's likely going to be you.
Oh, that's funny.
I really liked him.
Yeah.
And he was so cute.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got it. Yeah.
But I just love where it's like all the kids and it's like going to like, it's like, oh, who are you auditioning for? And like none of them were auditioning for Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, after they were done filming, the network, I guess, did want to cut a lot of scenes. Like even after everything, they were like, I don't know if this is going to be okay for like TV. And so they really had to argue to get this thing to air by saying like, look, like this book was insanely popular because it was. The book was like one of the best selling books that could come out. It was like, look, like this is coming from a popular book. People want to see it. We want to stay somewhat close to the original text. Got to work with us here.
Right. And it's a horror. Like, it is what it is. Like, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure they were able to just kind of like talk the network back into it. And they did end up having to make too many changes where they were like, okay, fine. We'll air it. Stephen King did get to watch it just like privately. So they gave him a thing being like, here you go if you want to watch it. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to watch this alone.
Nice.
Because I can't imagine watching it in front of like the people who worked on it.
What do you think of it?
Let me do solo. Oh, that's a good question, actually. I feel like he liked it.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that he didn't.
Yeah, I feel like when he doesn't like it,
He's
very
pretty
vocal.
outspoken.
So I don't think he disliked it.
Right.
Okay.
For Pennywise, they kind of had like a few different sketches and ideas of what Pennywise could look like.
Mhm.
And Tim Curry kind of specifically said, like, I don't want a lot of stuff to be like added to my face, like, you know, like prosthetics and stuff to change it. And like he even said, he's like, if that is what you're looking for, then you should probably go with a different actor because I think I can be scary enough.
Yeah.
Like, so they even thought, so they did keep like the oversized head, but they had thought about even doing like a longer chin and like more dramatic, like cheekbones, like just other, like a bunch of stuff. And it was like, they kind of reduced it back down, which honestly, I think he crushed it. Like,
it was perfect.
Shout out to her being like, look, I can be spooky. You don't have to do all the extra stuff. Like, just let me be scary.
Right.
And I think that was a good idea.
Nice.
Plus, that probably saved them a lot of time on doing makeup. Apparently, though, when he was like in his full Pennywise like costume, he would kind of like stay away from the children and would just be like chain smoking off the side. And then if the like kids approached him, he would like growl at them. So he was just like sitting around smoking, growling at the children as they came by.
I also love
amazing.
So there's another movie that Tim Curry was in when we were young. Well, actually, Brianna, I was young. But we watched it as kids. And I think we need to add it to our list. I wonder, Yvette, if you've ever seen it, or Brianna, if you remember. It was called The Worst Witch.
Oh, yes.
I don't think I've heard of it.
And it was with this girl who was in a couple of really freaking creepy movies. She was in Return to Oz and The Worst Witch.
So weird.
Her name is Fairuza Balk. But The Worst Witch is just like, I don't know. He plays like this like wizard thing in it.
We should add that to our list.
But like he was so good. Like I always think of The Worst Witch when I think of Tim Curry.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that will be a real throwback. I think
maybe we need to add another one. This isn't like a super scary movie, but like as kids, it was like about witches and spooky stuff like that.
Sweet. Okay, add it.
But I think it's like
going on the list.
Early mid 80s or something like that. Like, okay, we'll add it to the list.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, for the final scene with the giant spider, I get the way that they were able to control it is that there was someone inside. So they kind of like opened from the back and then like someone could like slide in head first and then use their arms to like control a bunch of different things. And so, you know, it had like a little cage around him where he would like sit. And they didn't really think about how in the final scene, they would all like push him over to the side.
Right.
So in the scene where they like rush and like push the giant spider, like there's a guy in there and then it had like a metal cage inside. Oh, no. And so he was inside and got like knocked to the side. Luckily he was totally fine, but like he was completely covered in bruises.
Oh
like
my gosh.
He was okay, but very bruised from getting just like shoved in this giant metal cage.
The things that we did before like CGI, you know?
I know, right? Oh man. And for such a bad effect too, you know, that's insult to injury right there.
Honestly, I did feel for them though, because in the documentary they're talking about like the giant spider and like making it and stuff. And the thing is the spider was so much more capable than what we saw. Like they had made it so it could like spit kind of like venom like from its teeth that it would like it would like slowly drip like liquid. They could control like every part of the spider. So like they had full control of like a bunch of like all the little like parts that we see, including the eyes. Like it was actually like a very capable monster. And then even then when they were talking about the editing, they were like, yeah, like if we could go back, like all of that should have been so much darker. Like that final scene is really bright. Like you can see the light coming in, which is why like you can see everything. Like you can see if the monster's maybe not great. Like, you know, you can see everything. It's like had in editing, they just made the scene a lot darker. It would have hidden a little bit more. And then had they used the monster maybe to like more of its capabilities, It could have been cool. Like I did kind of feel bad watching the documentary. It looked a lot cooler in the documentary.
Oh, that's disappointing.
They're talking through. Yeah, because like they did it, in retrospect. Like the documentary was made a few years ago. And it's like, they have all these like little scenes of them playing with it. And like, it was so cool. They could control like every part of the little spider and stuff. So like, and they show like the scenes and then show it just a little bit darker, do like a side by side. It's like, that would have looked so much better.
Yeah.
Like these little things that could have made it better. So I kind of felt for them because it was like, you guys even actually made kind of a cool monster. It just, it didn't end up looking good in the movie. In the documentary too, they also talked about how, and I completely agreed with this, how they wished that at the end they would have gone back to Pennywise. And again, one of those things you don't realize until, later, where it's like, oh, like Tim Curry dominated that. He was great. We should have gone back to Pennywise.
Just had a scene of him being maniacal.
Yeah, like they were kind of saying like they wish that what they could have done is after they hit the spider, like maybe he goes back into Pennywise form.
Because I think that happens in the 2017, or at least his head. There's some reference.
His head,
like that. The head of the spider becomes. Yeah,
maybe I don't know.
And I mean, again, it's like you don't realize it till later. It's like everyone loved Tim Curry in it, and like it is kind of weird. It's like it's pretty early where you get kind of your last scene with him as Pennywise, and then we get the spider monster.
Right.
So it's like like if we could go back, we would add Pennywise in there. Okay, let's see. What else was there? Oh, it was a big success. I think like millions and millions of people tuned in to watch it. It like. Especially for a TV show, like it was as successful as like a movie premiere would be. Like millions of people watched it. And then I think it even went on, I think it may have been nominated for 2 Emmys, and then it did end up winning an Emmy for the score.
Cool.
Oh,
which honestly was like, I honestly didn't notice it too much, which I think could actually be a sign of something that's well done. It's one of those where like if you notice it too much, it's probably taking away from the movie.
Agreed.
But in the documentary, when they were talking about it winning the Emmy, they kind of like showed scenes, just with like the regular score. And I was like, oh, wow, that was well done.
Yeah.
So, didn't notice it while watching it, but maybe that's actually a good thing.
Totally.
What else was there? Oh, I did just look up like the lengths of everything because I was curious. So this series is 3 hours and 12 minutes total. The new ones, so the 2017, 2019, the first one was 2 hours, 15 minutes. And then the second one was 2 hours, 45 minutes. So that one was 5 hours long.
That's so long.
But honestly, I feel like it kind of worked. I remember kind of liking them. I think we were able to dive more into it. Not as much as you would get from like a whole series.
Right.
It's so funny for me because if it's like, I watch like series all the time that I love. But if it's broken down into like 54 minutes and there's 8 of them, great. I'm down for it. But if it's like 2.5 hour ones, that's too much.
I'm a 90-minute movie girl.
But like, I'm okay with like a long one.
I know, I'm the same.
Story, but break it down into smaller chunks for me.
Yeah. Well, that's what they wanted originally. That's
what
they wanted to give you.
They were right.
Okay, the book was 1,138 pages. So if you ever just have nothing to do and want to read.
Fun fact about my father-in-law, he has read every Stephen King book there is.
Really?
Every single one?
Yeah, and he's not the kind of guy that you would necessarily expect that from. Yeah. But yeah, he's a big fan, so he's read all of the Stephen King books.
Wait, how many books has he written?
Probably like 5,000.
After our last episode, I am reading Harry.
I bought it.
I'm reading it right now.
It yet,
it's actually pretty good.
I've read The Shining and The Green Mile, and they're both great books.
I've read The Shining, and I've read The Shining.
Oh, The Green Mile is so good. Oh my god.
Well, he's written so many, and then there's all the ones that he wrote under like the pen name, which like, come on, man, like to be like, you know what? I'm such a good writer. I should try writing under a different name just to see if I'm still good. And people like them too.
Genius. Love it.
Such a flex. And then in my research, I did see apparently there's going to be a TV show that is going to be a prequel to it, which I'm kind of excited about. So it's HBO who's doing it. Nice. And it was originally scheduled to come out 2024, like they were hoping for Halloween, but because of the writer's strike, it got pushed. So it's looking like May 2025. Like they finished filming.
Okay.
So it's going to be out soon. And yeah, it's called Welcome to Derry. So it's going to be like a little prequel, which I'm excited for. I don't know if either of you watched like Castle Rock.
No.
Because that's also, it's like in the Stephen King universe. But I'm excited. I'm going to be watching it.
No, I'll watch it for sure.
So hopefully. Anyway, that's the last of my fun facts.
I just have one that I found. It's about the set. So the reason that the set is the way that it is because the Teletubbies actually, the costume is 10 feet tall. And on the show, they really wanted them to look tiny. So they had to film them in a giant pasture so that they appeared small.
I mean, that just makes sense. That's just logical.
Yeah, that's my only fun fact of the night.
Stephen King has published 65 novels and novellas.
I honestly am surprised it's not more. But
7 were under the name of Richard Bachman.
Okay, yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm interested to see where we're all at. I think there might be some variance in our ratings tonight.
I think so.
Yeah. Sometimes we're like right on all together, and then other times we're split. So here on Spooky Sips, we don't do stars, we do sips. So out of 5 sips, how many do you give it?
I feel like this time I want one of you two to go first.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go first.
I think maybe Brianna should go first.
So it's hard because I'm trying to not just be a hater, but it's not my favorite movie. I don't love the story, and I don't love anything about it.
Nothing?
That's so funny.
Not a single redeemable.
That's why I wanted you to go first, because we are so different in this one.
I don't know what it is, you guys. I just don't. There's no connection there for me. Like, I can't pinpoint it. Yeah. I will say, though, that I liked this one better than I liked the 2017. But I think I'm like a 2.5.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yep. Would you recommend people watch it?
Yes. Absolutely, because I think that it is probably a lot of people's cup of tea. Like, it's a good, solid horror film. Not film, but So I think, yes, I highly recommend that you watch it. But if you watch it and you don't love it, like, let's talk, because I get it. I didn't either.
I feel like this one's hard because I really do think the first part was so much stronger than the second part for me, but there were a lot of things that I really liked. I think the story is actually really interesting. Like the way that they showed just like the kids and their trauma and then, coming together, like there were a lot of elements of that, like, things in real life are actually really scary sometimes. And this just so happens to be a killer clown from outer space that is showing it to you. But with the trauma that they lived through, like that's real life stuff. And that I thought they did a really good job with. So I think if you have to be ready to sit for a 3-hour movie. I think that's another part of it. Like, I do think if you go into this movie not wanting to sit through it, you're not going to have a good time.
3 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time. So there are parts that I really enjoyed. I didn't love the ending. To be fully honest, the spider I thought wasn't great. The effects itself on the spider wasn't great. So for me, it's a 3.25.
Okay.
And would recommend watching it.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Yvette you've said. No, I think there are so many good parts about this movie. There's just so many iconic, classic, scary movie scenes. Tim Curry was amazing, and I agree. I love the kind of the way they did both in your head what can be scary, and then real world what's scary, and then also the relationships. And again, I think we talked about this like the last couple, where I just feel like for me, what makes a movie good is good character development. And this movie had amazing character development for so many of the people.
Yeah.
Hands down, absolutely recommend that people watch it. And I also like me some cheesiness. I feel like when it's done in like the old school way. So I'm giving it a 4.
Yeah.
I almost even want to go a little higher, but I'm giving it a solid 4. I think it's very good. Loved it.
I retract my previous one because I'm realizing we just finished watching Hellraiser last episode, and I gave it like a 2 or a 2.5, and I liked Hellraiser more than this, so I'm going down to a 2.
Okay.
Solid 2.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Wild. I gotta be weird sometimes, you know.
That's harsh, man.
That is hard. Tim Curry's performance alone
has to bump it up to a 3
for me. Like,
yep.
It's not your cup of tea.
Well, absolutely a 4, maybe higher for me.
We're divided, you know.
We are.
We can't always be on the same page. Okay, so next time on Spooky Sips, we're going to the theaters again. We got to get all that like summer theater magic. And we're going to watch Beetlejuice 2.
I'm so excited for it.
I am so excited.
We got to give it.
Are we wearing our costumes?
I think we have to.
I mean, we're ready.
Guys, we should.
I think I left my costume in Utah. So.
I could totally wear mine. Oh my gosh, I'm totally wearing mine. If that yours is a little harder, like, are you?
I think I just won't do the paint because for
the teal skin.
Yeah, I won't do the face paint, but for like my arms and legs, I just did like a mesh shirt and then mesh leggings. So I didn't do paint for that. Yeah,
I gotta go find the wig.
All right, so get your best Beetlejuice costumes, head to the theaters, and then get sipping and get listening. And we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
Bye.
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 Everything Teletubbies remains.
Everything Teletubbies stays remains.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at SpookySips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.